Love the enthusiasm of Matt Winston, and it's that kind of enthusiasm that will help put a balm really on the back of Romain Bardet. Here's our new leader. Kenny Elissonde takes control after an unfortunate day yet again, 2 in a row for Ryan Tara-May. I guess he's experienced the lows. Almost the curse of the jersey, wasn't it? Let's see how Kenny gets on.
Kenny Elissonde.
Should we find out what we're dealing with tomorrow? Well, we had a pancake today. Thankfully, tomorrow is a bit more rolly. Would you look at that? Beautiful sunshine. The clouds that billowed up yesterday seem to have gone, but there's a bit of a storm that's going to be kicked up at the end of today. It's just 158.3 kilometres, nasty sting in the tail. What about yesterday? Well, let's ponder, shall we? How stage 6 turned out. Will everyone be smiling at the end of today? Frenchman Kenny Elissonde is the new race leader after Estonia's Ryan Tara-May was involved in a pileup outside the 12-kilometre mark. Elissonde just didn't jump for joy at the finish area because he knew that he was taking advantage of Tara-May's crash, but he's earned it. He was up there, of course, 8 years after his stage win at the top of the Angliru. Trek Segafredo rider is living another highlight of his career. They need to find a better fitting jersey for him, though.
Quel bonheur.
What a wonderful news, Kenny. You were close to the stage victory on the Tour de France, and you've already won on La Vuelta. 10 years after wearing the leader's jersey on a race, you're wearing a red jersey. How crazy is this season? Well, I needed that in Paris-Nice, or indeed the Criterium of Dauphiné. Breakaways got caught, and then I finished second on Mont Ventoux and third position the day before yesterday. I was always about to do something good, but I always lacked that little something. So today isn't a victory, but tomorrow it'll be a big day for wearing this jersey, and we'll see when I eventually lose it, of course, which will happen. I'm just going to put it in a frame, and it'll stick with me. It's sad for Ryan, but I'm also happy about being the next leader of this great race, of course.
Vous allez le défendre quand même parce qu'on sait que.
Well, will you defend it? I know the team is here to support Guillaume Ciccone, but will you fight for it? Well, tomorrow we're going to be doing our best to defend it, but we know that a 5 seconds gap on Primož Roglič is nothing on such a punchy arrival. But we'll defend it, and with the team, we can just hope that it goes well again. But once more, I won't have any regrets about being beaten by someone better than me. That's the way it goes. What a lovely bloke he is. Kenny Elissonde leads this race by a margin of 5 seconds, as you've just heard from Roglic. Carmajan in the frame, Mas, Lopez, all within 26 seconds. Then beyond the half minute, Valverde, Ciccone, Bernal, Landa and Mardi, your top 10 for now. Well, a huge crash wiped out large parts of the riders in a hugely dramatic incident on what had been a pancake flat and very uneventful stage 5 until that moment. Mads Verst touched the wheel of a rider in front of him and sent a large group of the peloton to the ground. Among the victims, Ryan Tara-May, who'd been wearing that red jersey. Romain Bardet, Nieve, also.
I was happy with these 2 days, and I have victory in my pocket. I'm not so sad to lose this jersey. We give it everything with team, and we was well positioned, but the crash was in the front. And
no frustration because it's not the good kind to lose the jersey.
See, I keep smiling. No frustration. It's okay. I'm happy for Kenny. We make 50-50. He can keep also some days, because probably after it's only Roglic, and we'll see what we're gonna do nextly.
This jersey, it can be a new objective, a new goal for you.
Yeah, why not? We will see. We have to speak together with my team, but probably yes, possible.
Another lovely bloke. The peloton's full of him, it seems. Ryan Tara-May saying it's 50-50 between me and Kenny, and he's happy that he's up there. Tara-May leads the King of the Mountains jersey competition by a modest 3 points. There is a climb today. It's at the very end. Let's have a look at it. Well, after the pancake flat day on stage 5, this different affair, certainly at the beginning when we come off the high plane, a little bit of a roller coaster, then a loop at the end. We'll talk about that in a moment. Just check this out. So they're bumping all the way to the flat for the time being. When we get to the coast, we've got a causeway, which is quite nasty, a bit gravelly to deal with. We'll do the circle, and then, of course, we cut away for our final climb. We've been there in the Valenciana before.
I know the climb quite well. The running to the bottom of the climb is the opposite this year compared to last year. We come in from and make a left-hand corner into the bottom. It's quite important, this corner. The start of the climb is very steep and a little bit narrow. But yeah, it's about a 5-minute effort. And I think you'll see some small gaps, but like we saw in Vuelta Valencia, it was a relatively large group arrived to the finish. So I would not expect to see too much difference, but there could be a couple of seconds one here.
Some of the GC contenders lost time at Pico Blanco. Today they can take this second.
Potentially, yeah. I think you'll see, like always for any mountain stage, a big fight, especially for this bottom corner and with the nervousness we've had the last couple of days with a little bit of wind. We'll make it nervous in the peloton and quite fast, but I hope everyone can arrive to the bottom of the climb safely, and we'll see who has the best legs.
Thank you. Thank you, Jack.
Estamos con ese trofeo especial El Pozo. Buenas felicidades para Oyer, que te invitamos, ¿verdad?, que te coloques también esta zona para que, junto con la presencia del Pozo. Con nosotros, atención, que ganó etapa en Italia.
It's all about who has the best legs. Jack Haig says it's a race to the bottom corner of the final climb. And at the moment, it's a little bit cagey out there. Welcome to stage 6 of this fabulous race. Yesterday, it was a bit like on your screen at the moment. It was a bit cagey. There was a threat, of course, of wind, and as a result, just the very threat of it caused the peloton to get on edge in the last 50 kilometres or so. And as a result, we had that awful crash on some of the twists and turns that finally offered up. There weren't many of them, but the corners that did offer themselves, I don't know, turned out less significant than the wide open highway, it seems, where the touch of wheels and indeed a bit of brain fade caused havoc. Well, it meant that we had a change of leader. A change right now. It's a very modest advantage for two up the road. As you can see, there's 3 pursuers at the moment. They haven't quite figured it out. Jon Boo was up the road yesterday, having another go with Ryan Gibbons. It looks like they're just about to be joined by to form a quartet that is finally acceptable to the peloton. It's been extraordinarily busy until this point, and breakaways have tried and then failed. And I think that it's because it's so difficult to predict today. If we do get to a big punch-up bunch sprint at the finale, don't be surprised. We've been here before with the Comunidad Valenciana back in 2020. And on that day, 19 seconds, I think, separated the top 20. So yeah, it was very bunched together, and some big men managed to make it up the incline that we're dealing with, and it does have ramps of 10%. We'll have plenty more on that the deeper we get into today. But Adam Blythe joining us a little bit later. Cherry Piddon will be back with us as well. And of course we have Sean Kelly. Sean, it's not an easy day to predict, quite frankly. It could be the breakaway, because who, for goodness sake, would like to bring Primož Roglič and Jumbo-Visma to the line? There's not going to be many really interested in chasing. One wouldn't have thought, if a breakaway indeed forms that's acceptable to those who are gunning for GC.
Well, it was always going to be a question, would it be a breakaway, would it be the GC men and be fighting out for the stage victory today? And in the prediction yesterday, I was throwing the balls in the air, which one it'll be, and I went for a breakaway. But we can see here it's been a very aggressive start, and a lot of riders trying to get up the road, but all the time being pulled back. And now we have 2 riders out in front with 1 man chasing here, just trying to get Guy Niff is trying to get out of the peloton here. And the advantage 132, 107 kilometres to go. It could be a case where they don't get the advantage they would like to get to the bottom of the climb. Although it's a short one, 1.9 kilometres of kick up at the finish, a very, very steep one. But again, will they be allowed to get out? And we can see more action in the peloton here. And I think we're going to see a lot more for a while. But I'm afraid now it might be a case where the riders in the peloton with their teams might control it, and we might not see a big enough an advantage.
We'll see. Magnus Kort Nielsen got himself a third place, don't forget, on the run to Malina on stage 4. That was when Jakobsen edged Demar. Slight rise to the end of that one. You can't describe today's finale, Sean, as a slight rise. It's an absolute brute, albeit short.
Yes, well, we did hear from Jack Haig that that 5 minutes effort, and it sounds like it's not a difficult one, but to get to that position in the front end of the peloton is going to be a problem, because with a short climb like that of 5+ minutes of a big effort, you have to be in the real good position. That means in the top 10 or 15. Any further back, you're going to have to make an effort to move up, and that will catch you for the final run to the line. So this will be a hectic one again. No matter what happens, if there's a breakaway away, well, there will be a fight all the time in the peloton, but if it's not a breakaway far enough away, or maybe pull back before that, then it will be a hectic one. And the dangers again, as we see yesterday in the final, the crashes, there'll be so much fighting for positions. It's always hectic, and to get into the bottom of the climb will be of major importance with a very short run up to the finish.
We've got a series of steps that we've been dealing with coming off the high plane, the plateau. Excuse me. These are the 5 that are up the road. It's a modest advantage they've got over Guy Nivers trying to join them just for the time being. I hope he gets there. Not least because we've got Cherie Pridham in a short while, and of course Guy's one of her boys. So we're looking forward to unpicking her mind about that. But yeah, it's a strange one today. Very difficult to predict. We thought the breakaway would be, by now, if it had fortune going its way, have about a 5-minute advantage. It's only just formed since you've joined us, and already they've got 1:36, so we might get up to those kind of margins, because we still do have a long way to go before we get to the line. Once we hit the bottom of our series of steps descent, we will have covered about 75 kilometres of today's course, leaving 80 to go. So we're still kind of going downhill, albeit you'll see a couple of kickers and you'll be thinking, what's he talking about? Well, there are 3 or 4 little hillocks along the way, but nothing too serious. And then it's piano, absolutely pan flat until we get to that last couple of kilometres, where all the action today is likely to kick off. It's only 1900 metres in length, but it's a properly spiteful, nasty test. We're coming in from a slightly different angle this time than when we ran it at the Valenciana. That was a right-hand turn, this is a left. It's of no consequence, really. But what is of consequence, Sean, is the run out to the causeway today. Once we get to our host town, really, for our finale, Cullera, we head out onto a causeway, and there's some broken and gravelly tests for them to take on a double loop before we finally take the climb.
Yes, well, it is going to be a hectic final, and with this run in, it's of major importance, and it will be real nervous because of the climb, and the short climb as well, as I mentioned just a moment ago. I think that is what is in the minds of the riders that need to be very much at the front end of the race when we approach this final kick up of 1.9 kilometres. So this is not going to be an easy day. Some riders would prefer a climb of 7 or 8 kilometres at the end, because then if you're a little bit further off, you're not a rider who like to fight and push a lot and keep a position. You're not great at that. Well, then this could be a problem one. Although there'll not be the big gaps, of course, with the distance of the climb to the finish. But every little counts, and 5 or 10 seconds losing here and there. A lot of riders do not need that, because there's a lot of the favourites coming into this race who have already lost too much time-wise, and they do not certainly want to lose any more here today on this sort of stage.
Certainly don't. Kenny Elissonde has come to terms with his leader's jersey, because Ryan Taramay basically went to him and said, "Don't be disappointed by the way you got it. We've split this 50-50. And I thought that was rather sweet of him to actually say that to Kenny. He was looking a bit pensive about celebrating the fact that he leads this race, but you've got to be there to lead, Sean.
Yes, well, it was unfortunate yesterday what happened in the final, and not only for Taramay, the red jersey race leader, but for a lot of the other favourites as well. We've seen that there's a few of them really got knocked about and lost all hopes of challenging for the overall. And the problem is, yesterday we did see, in about 25th position, a touch of wheels, down they go, and so many riders, going down. And unfortunately, the red jersey was just behind that. But you can't say, well, he was in the wrong place. It's just a look where you're sitting in the peloton. If you're sitting out at the side, maybe you could escape, or maybe you could stop in time. And that's the risk of bike racing when it's so nervous as it was yesterday because of that run in. We're always talking about the wind when they turn a little bit. Will it be a side wind? How much will the wind be blown? That was also in the minds of the riders, and it was a hectic final, nervous wise. And when you have a crash like that, it's disappointing when you see the race leader losing the race leadership. But Kenny Ellison, it was for him, it was good. It was a good day because he's leader in the end.
He is the leader, Kenny Elissonde. They've finally found a jersey that fits him. He is, I think he's only, I heard he's only 52 kilograms, Sean. That is not a big lad. And here he is, shooting the breeze. Very, very bright man, by the way, this Parisian. His English is absolutely impeccable. Gives some very good interviews. And a very, very popular leader of this race. As you see, he's had more pats on the back, Sean, than just about anybody I've seen.
Yes, we could see him there talking to Robert Gessing, Brambilla, his teammate at the other side there, and looking very happy. And of course, he's going to be happy. But he did say yesterday, when he came off the podium after receiving the red jersey of leader, it wasn't the way he liked to take the jersey, but that's bike racing, and that's the way it goes. And when you're in that position, well, then you have to enjoy it. But he would have much preferred to take it out on the road a number of days ago when they were fighting for that stage victory and the red jersey. And Tara May proved to be the strongest. But you get on with the race, and it's going to be a day for him that he will remember after his career has finished, and for the rest of his life, because he's a rider that's been at the service of others, and he's been a domestique a lot of the time. He does get the occasions when he's allowed to get into breakaways, when he's given a free day, and he can get very good results. But this day is going to be a big one for him, and the question is, will he be able to hold on today? Because with the 5-second advantage over Roglic, that is going to be a big battle for him. But he can do that. He can climb well, and he's going to really have to give it his all here today and hold on to the yellow jersey for another day.
Interesting to watch Guy Niv on the radio. I mean, as soon as he appeared on pictures, he was kind of off the radio, because it was quite clear what he was saying is this really worth the candle, guys? Do you really want me to push on at a moment such as this? He's kept the pace. The peloton's really knocked it back, as you can see, at 4 minutes and 17 now. And Guy Niv in no man's land in 3 minutes. I think he will ultimately get absorbed, but he's not exactly going to pull to the side of the road just for now. But I think he was on the blower there, Sean, saying, listen, this is impossible. Can I just go back? And they said, look, just hang on a bit, will you?
Yes, hang in there. Give it a bit more and see what will happen. But it's a difficult one when you miss the move, and the advantage is any more than 10 or 20 seconds, unless you're a super time trialist, where they can bridge those gaps of 40 seconds to a minute. But you have to be a super strong rider, and against the riders that we have up here, it is an impossible one for him, because they're working well together, and we can see the way the advantage is growing out. The peloton are happy, but unfortunately some have missed the break of the day.
Just pondering our breakaway. Welcome back, everybody who've been away on a break yourself. For the time being, they have a modest advantage over the chase that's being led, as you would expect, by Trek Segafredo. Trek in a happy position because Kenny Elissonde is the leader of this race. It's Quinn Simmons that's doing the pacing at the moment. It has ebbed a little bit. There was none too interested in chasing down. There's our race leader. Kenny Elissonde has had more pats on the back than anybody in red, even, dare I say, Ryan Taramay. It's an extraordinarily popular leader of the race. He knows it's not going to last forever, and indeed it might not even last beyond the end of today, because Primož Roglic, if you looked at the parkour, you would think, what, punchy end? He's got to be there. Well, it would either be him or Tadej Pogačar, but Tadej is, of course, not here, but he most certainly is. Bernal's it's not been unheard of for him to have a crack at a day such as this, but it's kind of a rueful day. And indeed, the thumb under the chin here is partly for us from Thomas Pidcock. Some people saying, look, this should surely be for Tom, the mountain bike gold medalist. He's used to a bit of an uneven surface, which we will have at the end of today on our little circuit. We'll deal with that when we get there. And then a short mountain for him to skip up as a mountain biker. Well, I think that was a message to us, Sean, that not to expect too much of Tom Pidcock today, who's, by all rights, has been busy enjoying his gold medal from the mountain bike.
Yes, well, I think Tom is just getting into this race. We did talk to him at the earlier part. He took a bit of a break after the Olympics, and he's just riding into the race for the moment.
Good lad. Let's have a look at some on board, shall we? Well, emotions getting the better of them. But Philipson got the better of everybody. 2 stage wins, Sean, and a green jersey. Got to be happy with that.
Yes, well, he has to be happy with that. And we see in the Tour of France, he was very close a number of times to Mark Cavendish from the time that Mathieu van der Poel left the race. But he's proven here to be a real fast man, and to get 2 stages in a big 3-week tour, it's a major achievement. And we could see the way the team is working. Again, they have riders here. Riders, he said yesterday afterwards, they haven't been riding a lot together. Some, maybe younger riders, or maybe not the experience for this sort of a big stage. To prepare the sprint here is very difficult, but they're doing a magnificent job. We see yesterday in the sprint, the way they prepared it again for him, amazing job. And that's a big part of the winning recipe, to have a team that can look after you, take you into the very, very final. And they did lead out yesterday. We could see Modulo was the last man lead out. He gave a perfect lead out, and when he gets into that position, well, he's always difficult to beat.
It was a bit nervous yesterday, and we had ourselves a crash, as I'm sure you know. And where the blame lies, I don't think fingers should ever get pointed, to be honest, in a situation such as that, because it's difficult to outline. Let's hear what Mads Wertschmidt has to say about it.
Now by Mads Wertschmidt, obviously you crashed, maybe the first one to crash yesterday, right?
Yeah.
What happened?
It was a simple touch of wheels, and there was nothing I could do to save it. We were going so fast, so it happened in a split second, and unfortunately, I started a very big crash, and I feel very bad about it.
Really? Because normally you should always think it's part of the job. Sometimes it goes out that way.
Yeah, it's part of cycling, and shit happens, but it's also, it's not nice to be the first one on the ground, and I hope everybody under these circumstances are okay, and we all just have to look forward. It's that's just cycling.
What about yourself? Because you looked pretty harmed here.
Yeah, the back of my hand is quite bad, but fortunately it's the upper body. My legs, they have nothing, and I can sleep good. Like, I can sleep well during the night without waking up, so the recovery can hopefully go quite quickly. Obviously I have to take it easy these next few days, and
just recover. Hopefully get to the rest day and then take it from there. But for now, it's just day by day. I've got some stitches here around my ear, and I hope they stay closed.
Ouch. Well, stitches around the ear suggest that the helmet did a bit of pushing of the ear, Sean. Not a comfortable description of everything he went through, and I think a bit unfair, really, to almost how can I say this? Almost hound somebody after an incident such as that, because although you're first on the ground and maybe it was your wheel that touched, you don't know what came before that. You may well have had a bump from behind yourself. It's always difficult, I think, to apportion blame at moments like that, and I don't think the riders really get too upset about any individual. It's just one of those things. It's part and parcel of the event.
Yes, it is. That's the risk of bike racing, and when you're in the final like that, the way it was, pushing for position, trying to hold position, all of that, the most experienced, the best riders in the world, you get cut out on occasions, and you go down. And the unfortunate thing yesterday, there were so many riders went down, but I don't think anybody will be really not happy with him. A touch of wheels, unless you make a real big mistake, then of course the riders will be saying, why did you do that? That was not the way to do it. But in the normal circumstances, and it looked like that it was just so tightly packed that they were really close together, and you touch a wheel, and when you go down at that speed with the peloton group so much together, it's going to cause a big one, and that was a massive one yesterday.
It certainly was. It was enormous. Peloton did wait up for most, not Ryan Taramay, of course, who was on the deck for the second time. It seems almost a curse of red here. No wonder Primož Roglic is quite happy for it to stay away. He'll be happy for this breakaway to stay away as well, Sean, because chasing duties won't fall upon Jumbo-Visma, because nobody else really wanted to help Jumbo-Visma. They know the threat of Roglic on a finish like that we've got today. And as a result, it could have been something of a burden. Now the break has gone, albeit a strong one, and I have to say, I think possibly has a great chance of making it all the way, Sean.
Well, 94.7 kilometres. Again, it's looking good for the breakaway at the moment, but we're still that distance out from the finish. There could be other teams who start to ride a bit further down the road in the next 25 kilometres, and that could be the problem for the breakaway. But it will not be Jumbo-Visma ride. I think they're thinking of the days to come and the rest of this Vuelta. It's going to be up to the team. We see Trek Segafredo here to control things. And in the breakaway, the men in the break, I think Jessica Bull is the best in the GC standings at 9:17. Ryan Gibbons is at over 12 minutes. And then the rest of them are a lot further back in the GC standings. So it's a good situation for Kenny Ellison and for Trek Segafredo. There's nobody at that 3 minutes, 4 minutes, so it's a perfect situation, and they will continue on riding at this pace and just hold it to a point where they feel it's comfortable enough they can close it down a bit in the end. And I don't see the team of Jumbo-Visma taking it up, but some of the other teams might have different ideas and they might have different tactics for today, and with this finish uphill they might fancy their chances with some of the riders, and that will not be maybe the GC men. There could be other teams here who think this is really a puncher's finish here, short climb, 1.9 kilometres. So yeah, the next 25 kilometres will tell if the breakaway is going to go all the way.
Let us see. 93.4 kilometres from home. The gap's gone out nearly to 6 minutes now, and we're looking at Romain Bardet. Pleased to see him start, Sean, after the rather uncomfortable day he had yesterday. You can see his jersey looks quite opaque. You see his teammates looks a bit more see-through, which suggests he's got a whole load of bandaging upon his back, and no surprise.
Yes, well, we did see yesterday his kit was just totally burned off him, and it was so disappointing to see with Bardet, because he was looking so good in this race. He had a great start. The opening time trial really gave a good performance, and yesterday he was 116 down in the GC standing, so he was very much in the fight there to get onto the podium, maybe challenge for the overall, who knows in the end, because his programme has been different this year. He did the Giro, had a fabulous Giro, missed out on the Tour of France, so rested up for quite a lot. So it would be interesting to see what he could have done. Now he's out of the general classification because he's at that 13 plus minutes, so it's totally over for him. And if he recovers well, stages will be his target from now on, if he recovers well enough from the big spill yesterday.
Something you're taking a commercial break, and when you come back we shall have Cherie Pridham with us for a short while. 6 minutes and 3, and a brief chit chat back at the team car. Jetse Bol in the break. Bart-Jan Lindemann is also here. He's just headed back to the Quebecer boys. Good all-terrain vehicle, I think, is Bart-Jan, our Netherlands rider here, and in good company with Jetse Bol as well. Magnus Kort, we know about him, we know how pacey he can be and doesn't mind a bit of an incline, which we've got today. John Bull, who was in the break yesterday, I think it was, actually, has found himself up there again, sucker for punishment. No, it was the run to Molina. He was in the breakaway, I do beg your pardon. It was his teammate Asperin yesterday, of course. And Ryan Gibbons there. It's a strong group, Sean, who are capable of landing this. And the way I'm looking at the gap, holding steady at the moment, they're working extremely well together. No Guy Niv, unfortunately, he's gone back to the car. But it looks like they may well have their fun. Long way to go, though, and wide open plains and wind might be a factor for them again.
Yes, well, that is the question as well, the wind, if that becomes a factor. But I don't think it'll be too much again today. Yesterday was the day where we're really in that terrain where it's known for the windy conditions. But unfortunately for the organisers, it wasn't the perfect way it was blowing. And it didn't really break the race apart as they were hoping. And we did talk to the guy who designs the route, Askertin. He was hoping that it would be blowing in the direction that is normally blowing, let's call it, and that would really have broken up the race, because the record books show the last 6 times they have come in here, 5 times that the peloton was blown apart, and there were small groups coming into the finish. But yesterday, if it wasn't for the crash, we would have the full bunch finishing together. So that it wasn't what the organisers set out to do, but for the riders, it was a better situation, certainly for some riders, because if there were a lot of that side wind yesterday blowing in the right direction, there would be definitely some of the GC men would have probably lost some ground to some of the others.
I thought Movistar today would be a great bet to take on the chase with so much at hand, but clearly thinking deeper into this race because of good positions for Enric Mas, Miguel Angel Lopez so far. So maybe Valverde not allowed to have his fun. That's something we'll find out a little bit later on. Just going to rejoin our wider Eurosport family, but for the time being, the wind a little bit benign. We are running at around about 11 kilometres per hour wind coming in from south-southeast, but it is expected to pick up in about 40 minutes to about 20-22 kilometres per hour. Welcome back, everybody. We're just talking about wind direction and indeed the weather forecast, which says at about in fact I've misguided some people here, apologies. In about an hour and 40 minutes we're expecting the wind to pick up. I guess that's when we hit the coast, or indeed approach it. We've got first of all a big loop where we head north and head back down towards our destination. We'll be passing by Valencia, hence the fact that our finish today has been used in the Comunidad Valenciana. We'll have a looping course which includes a causeway with some gravel and sort of sandy sections, as you will see. Yep, you heard it right. It's an uneven surface, thick Strada Bianchi, so a bit more compact than just straight sand, but nonetheless it'll be a test. We'll do a loop twice and then we will cut inland for our climb that defines the day, really. So let's see how that goes. Cherie, are you with us? Because I have no other internet connection to check.
Yes, I'm here, Colin. It's lovely to join you again.
Yeah, great to have you on board. Got to ask you, poor old Guy Niv found himself out in no man's land there, trying to join the break. He was clearly on the blower, and they said, you're on TV. stop looking like you're begging to come back to the car. What happened?
Yeah, I think that was the most logical thing to do. It was a big gap by that stage, so you know, he gave it a go, but I think he was on the, as we call it, a hiding to nothing there. He
was on vapours, I think, yeah. Got there in the end. Talk to me about Mads Wirtz. I felt really sorry for him. I think I said it earlier, I don't know if you heard, that I think the apportioning of blame on a mass crash such as that is a terrible thing. Yes, it might have been his wheels that touched and he was first on the ground, but if you've got a bump on the backside, you know, you don't know where the blame lies when it's such a mosh as that, do you?
Yeah, it's unfortunate for Mads and of course for the team. You know, you never go out there with an intention. I think it was just a touch of wheels, unfortunately, and caused a big crash. And I'm relieved to say that Mads is obviously able to start, and thankfully no real bad injuries there. But Mads is a fighter.
Good. Well, we know all about him, of course, in that regard. He was telling us as well that he had stitches above his ear. I presume that's when he went down, the helmet ripped his ear. Simple as that.
Yeah, they took him to the doctors, got him x-ray to make sure he hadn't had any bad injuries to his hand and so on. But no, it's great to see him back in action today.
Thank goodness. Let's have a look at social media and see what everyone has been saying. This one says Kevin Jarrett was caught in the crash with 10k to go. The Luxembourg champion still managed to reach the finish and of course the bus. Saying no luck this time, got caught from behind by a rider. Well, I thought I'd avoid the crash. The knee's painful tonight, but I hope to have a reasonable night of recovery and the rest, and then bounce back. Sean, it's a game of hard men, this. There's no seeking of excuses. If anything, riders are known to hide their injuries rather than accentuate them, and we've seen plenty of brave souls get back on the bike today.
Well, bike riders are, they're tough guys, and we see them go down on these injuries, road rash, and they get back on the bike. If they were footballers, they'd be rolling around for many hours if they had an injury like this.
or even lesser injury, Sean, or indeed no injury at all.
I'll play for the year.
Still get paid. 86 kilometres to go. I've no idea what they're growing here, but one can only assume it's oranges. I do not know. We've got Romain Bardet coming up for you in a short while. He of the big crash yesterday, and speaking before the day's start, one can only hope that he's going to recover reasonably quickly. It looks to me like he's quite heavily bandaged underneath his jersey, and goodness only knows what sort of night he has had. I guess we are about to find out in just a few moments' time. apologies that some of you had some level issues yesterday. I hope we've resolved it on some of these interviews for you. Fingers crossed that that's the case.
Romain, tout d'abord en français.
A few words. What happened yesterday at the end of the day, the medical exams for your back and your knee? What's up? Well, it's been going well actually, because I hurt my knee. My foot got stuck in a pedal, so I sprained my knee, and we did a good job with the medical team last night. It's still quite painful, but it actually looks good to go, to be honest. There's some good signs from it. So it hurts me more when I walk than when I ride the bike, so I'm optimistic.
C'est douloureux, mais ça vous empêche pas de continuer.
It's painful, but can you still stay in the race and still stay motivated? Yeah, I am. It would have been a shame to have to stop. I expect some complicated days, but it's still the beginning of the Vuelta, and I hope that I'll recover. We saw some solidarity with your teammates as well, waiting for you. Did you appreciate it? Yeah, of course. They helped me a lot, and I was truly supported. Last night we enjoyed most of the evening to recover and as much as possible. And we need to leave time. Everyone knows their duties, and just try and get back on track. Well, there is, Cherie, it's about remotivating yourself, but cyclists seem to be able to do that. But a major part, of course, is the team that surrounds the riders, and just making sure that everyone reconfigures their plans and moves on.
Yeah, the support that the riders get at World Tour is pretty significant. You know, with team doctors on board. Even if it's a need for X-rays, there are X-ray machines and so on, so to speak, at the finishes, so they can get the riders checked up very, very quickly. But the support from the team doctors is significant at this level, and motivating the riders is something that I think any cyclist that has a crash is just willing to get back on the bike. That's all they want to do, regardless of the injuries they've got. But now, we need to check for any significant head injuries or any injury to the head at all. And we have to make sure that the riders' welfare is for the best interest for them to continue. So they will be checked out.
I know it all depends on riders' personalities and the like, but I think yourself, of course, being a DS with Israel Startup Nation, and the very fact that you have been a rider and had your own troubles in the past, I guess advice coming from somebody like yourself counts for an awful lot to the riders. They know that you've been through the mill yourself, and so anything that you can say to them, I guess, has a bit more impact than maybe somebody less successful than you were.
Yeah, sometimes when you've had a similar injury, for instance collarbones and wrists and so on, you can compare and give them examples of recovery and just reassurance. But the riders are, they know their own bodies, they know their how they're feeling, and generally they will certainly say, I'm good to carry on, or they'll probably have a rough night, the night of the day of the crash, and assess with the sports directors in the morning. The doctors will be checking on them, and then it would be a team decision whether that rider continues or abandons the race.
One of our watchtowers here, watching, of course, in lands that were fought over by the various dukedoms out there. An ancient tower, albeit with solar panels and some air conditioning units at the bottom. Just to add to the frisson. Yesterday, wide open highways, and Sean, a little bit of a different complexion, although not for some time. We've got more of these wide open plains. The wind yesterday was a worry, and even the absence of it didn't stop the nerves, did it?
No, and it doesn't when you have a parcours like we had yesterday, and the wind was blowing a little bit, but we were always looking and seeing what way it was blowing, how strong it was blowing, and it's always difficult to see from the cameras, and until you're out there on the road. And we did see the riders, they were really being attentive yesterday, the teams were really staying to the front, and there was times when we did see teams trying to really push it on and see could they break the peloton, but the wind wasn't blowing strong enough in the right direction to do that. And they do that for a while, and you could see there was riders on the front pulling along, and they had to wave the other riders to come through. But if you're in the real side winds, well, then everybody wants to ride through because you want to hold your position is the best way to stay. And it never really happened. But we can see now here in the race there's a change on the front here. We can see Bike Exchange are starting to push on, and that was always going to be the question. You can see the way the peloton is lined out, that tells the pace is really high at the moment. And that was the question I was asking. Would there be a team wanting to take it up? Because if it was left down to Trek Segafredo, I think they would just continue on, holding at a distance but not going to pull it back, and not pull it back as well. It would be better for the Kenny Elliston, the race leader here, because then it wouldn't be as such a fight for the bonuses and for the stage win if the stage honours are gone. But now, we can see here there's action starting already with still over 80 kilometres to go.
Been watching it as well. Team Bike Exchange have got a little bit lively. I wonder if Michael Matthews is thinking about some options today. Now, we've been here before to our climb, Sean. It was at the Valenciana, Comunidad Valenciana, where we've dealt with this test. And very tight it was at the top as well, with margins of about 19 seconds, I think it was, that blanketed the top 20 out there. It can be tight, Sean.
Yes, well, with a short climb of 1900 metres, it's going to be tight unless somebody really get knocked about before you get onto the climb itself and you're way off. That is a disastrous place to be, because there will be riders in the teams here riding full on to get onto the climb, and then when they get into the last corner onto the climb, they're going to knock off their effort. So if you're in 35, 40 place plus back in the peloton, these guys are going to be leaving gaps, and that's what you try and bridge across those gaps. And that takes a huge effort, because this one is going to be a big explosive effort up the final run to the line, and you cannot afford to be out of the top 15 places, 20 places, because then it could be a place where you could lose 15 seconds very quickly. And nobody in the GC standings that are thinking of an overall place in the top 3, top 5, you cannot afford to lose time here again today, and some of them have lost already some time. We can see the way the peloton is going here, pace rapidly high at the moment.
Very much so. Catarocca, by the way, we're actually taking a turn to get to it, and it will mean that we've got a tailwind, and I think we may well have already made that turn, to be honest. It's undefined as part of the road book, exactly where it is. It's a blank area, and the region we came through yesterday, it's part of the empty area of indeed Spain, and there's plenty of those. Such a vast country, as we were talking about yesterday. 6 minutes and 8 is the gap at the moment, but the pace seems to have picked up and is now just starting to eat in. It's Bike Exchange that are interested here. There'll be plenty of options for them if indeed this gap does close down. I think they're thinking about today rather than deeper into the race, to be honest. So is it the death knell for our breakaway? Looking at it, Cherie, it's a very strong break.
Yeah, it certainly is a strong breakaway, but looking at Bike Exchange riding, I originally said at the start I'd put my money on Nick Schultz. They've got Mike Matthews up there as well. They could be riding for him today. It's going to be an interesting one, but I would suspect that this break will be brought back and we will see some action later on in the stage.
Certainly got plenty of time to do that. In a short while we'll have Alan Blythe joining us. Sean will be heading off to have a well-earned break. He's already got his eye on the coffee machine, I can tell you that much. Sean, before you make your departure, our sketchy road surface that we're going to be dealing with a little bit later on, we'll hear from you more, of course, on the run for the line. How much do you think that's going to loom large in everyone's minds? It's a little bit of the unexpected which has been dropped into the day, which the organisers seem to absolutely love, keeping us on our toes.
Well, it's something now we see a lot in the stage races, and in the big stage races we see where they go, they look for these terrains where it is, not on surface or gravel roads as we call them, and Yeah, when it's in the final, it's always a concern because, not alone to get onto the position, get into a good position, mechanical problems, that is the thing as well. If the race, is really on and you have a mechanical because of, the road surface not being its best, well then that could cost you riders dearly and lose quite a lot of time.
Thank you, Sean. I think he's going to head off. Well, in fact, we're going to have a look at the predictor. Did they ask you, Sean, today about who you thought might be there?
Yes, I was in for the predictor yesterday, or this morning, sorry, and I went for Herrada. I said it was going to be a close call. Would it be a breakaway? Would it be the bunch had come for the finish today? And for me, it was a difficult one, but I went for the breakaway and I said Herrada. Herrada, would be a one who could do this sort of finish, but now it looks like that it's going to be possibly a big fight between the peloton and possibly the GC men winning. And Roglic on this sort of finish, he's really explosive, but lots of others also will be thinking I can get a victory here today.
Let's see. You never know. It might have a regathering and then a secondary break. It might come true, Sean. Let's find out what everyone thought, including Sean's thought from earlier.
Today's stage, a relatively flat stage, uphill finish in the end. For me, Herrada will win the stage from Cofidis. I think the breakaway will succeed in going all the way, and Herrada will win the stage in the difficult uphill finish.
Die heutige Etappe gewinnt Michael Matthews. Warum? Das ist eine recht einfache Etappe bis auf die letzten 1,9
Kilometer. Saying it's a stage where the last 1900 metres are going to count. And I think Michael Matthews has the confidence to take this section. Bike Exchange will take control and keep a fast pace during the race, and Michael Matthews will win the sprint from a relatively small group. Well, so far, Jens, you're looking like that crystal ball of yours is working. What about Brian Hunt?
Well,
after the first time I looked at this stage, I thought to myself, this is a stage for Magnus Kort. He can win that. But then I called Magnus and asked him about stage 6, if he could win it, and he said, no, you have to be a real climber for that stage. So I looked at it again, and it might be too hard a stage. 2 years ago, it was Tadej Pogačar who won on the Valenciana, and so my prediction will be, although it might be a bit wrong, it's Primož Roglic from Jumbo to win the stage. So good luck to Primož for me, he says. What about Karsten Kroon?
Ik denk dat deze etappe gaat gewonnen
Well, I think the stage is going to be won by Andreas Kroon.
De finish is te lastig voor de sprinters, dus ze zullen weinig toegang willen proberen.
The finish is too difficult for the sprinters, so there won't be a lot of teams to take control. A tough start to the stage, so I think a strong breakaway will get away. Andreas Kroon will win the stage, he says. Interesting. I kind of feel sorry for Brian Holm, who rang Magnus Kort, asked him his thoughts. Maybe after that, he had to think about it and thought, do you know what? As I've had the call, I might get myself in a breakaway. That's precisely where he finds himself. If you'd like to join the GCN poll, then please feel free to do so. So far, 37% of you think that Primož Roglic is going to win the day. Alejandro Valverde, who's gone well on these ramps before, accounts for 26%. Adam Yates as well, 16% of you believe that will be the case. We're going to be hearing from another Adam in just a few moments' time. Those of you who want to join that poll, then please feel free to do so. Head over to the GCN app, have a wander around, and if you click on today's stage banner, then you'll find links to all you need. And indeed, if you like what you see there, then go and enjoy. You can subscribe, of course, to the GCN Plus service, and you will be in a very happy place if cycling is your thing. We're very happy as well to welcome Adam Blythe. Adam, what a day! What a brute!
It is a bit of a brute of a day, isn't it? It's. I think it's a little bit unexpected, and I think we can see through the way the riders are sitting towards the back of the peloton it's going a little bit faster than they expect. I think they were, thinking it might be a little bit of an easier day, which it is ultimately, and with a few bigger days coming up, it's going to be easier. But I think with this now, where we look at the peloton, you can see all the gaps at the back, and that's just through the group at the front, the riders riding on the front at quite a hard tempo and wanting to bring this back by the looks of things for, I'm going to guess, Michael Matthews. I think he thinks he can do it today by the looks of it.
Certainly looks that way. He had a good run in Valenciano. He was one of that group that was within 19 seconds of the win a couple of years ago now. The pace that we've had, Adam, has been absolutely brutal. I know we've been coming largely downhill, and this is where the real tell is when we hit the flatlands and the potential for wind, which apparently ever more so today. But it was interesting yesterday, the very threat of wind and the very threat that some might react to it caused others to react. We had a whole load of nervousness and a nasty crash.
Yeah, I think that's just by the by, isn't it? A little bit with racing these days, you're going to get these crashes when it's nervous and everything. But you can tell just now it's obviously nervous, but interesting looking at the front, the two bike exchange riders. Normally in this situation you just have one rider riding on the front, and then more towards the finish they'd use two of them. But now they're using two to ride, so they definitely want to bring this back, and that's causing the problems here. Not problems, but the stringing out of the peloton.
Well, they have found a minute in very, very short order, as you quite rightly point out. This is the Puerto de Silla, where you can a little bit of inland waterway, where the big lagoon here is fed not only from the sea but also by the fresh water. There is some of it around here, despite the fact it looks extraordinarily scorched, and as a result they've been using those freshwater aquifers to make these lands very, very green, as you can see. They're loving this. Show you a bit of green after the parched landscapes that we've had out indeed in the countryside. I don't know what they're growing here, but it's not just grass, apparently. 73.2 kilometres to go. 5 minutes and 11 is the gap. Here is that big lagoon that we're going to be playing with, some of it fresh water, so don't pitch your tent on the edge of it, because you're going to get bitten by mosquitoes. It's as simple as that. Adam, you spent a lot of time this year on a motorcycle interviewing riders in the pack. It's been you must have had a lovely season.
I did, yeah. It was a lot of fun actually doing the tour there. It was you have to remind yourself a lot of the times. I think after a week or two on that motorbike you get used to the situation, but it is definitely sort of the bucket list kind of stuff that money can't buy, like literally can't buy it. So it's a fantastic experience, but a challenging one when you have to report on the race, because ultimately where we are on the motorbikes is basically where the team cars are, so we don't actually get to see that much action unless there's a crash, or if someone's going out the back, then we see them obviously going backwards, and those are the times as well when I'm happy I've retired.
Yeah, it's nice to know. Adam, for those of you who don't know, was working for American television during the Tour de France, which is why we had Brad, of course, on the bike. There's going to be a battle between the pair of you when you both come together as to who gets that gig, because I know Brad loves it as well, doesn't he?
He does indeed, and I think it's the first time probably ever in my career I've beaten Bradley Wiggins up a climb, which was a bonus.
Only from Adam Blythe. Great to have him on board, along, of course, with Cherie Pridham. Cherie, today, a kind of a brutal day, but I'm pleased about that because it's been so quiet these last couple of days. It's nice to have some action to call.
Well, yeah, my prediction for this morning has gone completely out the window, so
Don't be
I
hard
have
on
to
yourself.
change my chip here. But I think it's going to come down to a GC fight today. I think Adam and I were discussing earlier on the sofa, what could potentially happen. He had his views, and yeah, I got mine wrong, unfortunately.
He won't hold it against you, I feel certain. He's too much of a nice guy. 5 minutes. Of course, Sean Kelly just brutalised you really and teased you about it relentlessly. But Sean's on the sofa at the moment, or indeed having a well-earned break. We'll be hearing from him a little bit later on. 5 minutes it's been paired back to. Coming through town, the fronds of the palms here. Barely a nod. So I don't think we've got that much wind just for the time being, but it's expected to blow up in about an hour. Big rain gullies here, you see that? That is when you have flash floods, which you can get in these parts, bizarrely. No chance of that today. In fact, the chance of rain, they were saying a 40% chance at the beginning of the day. That seems to have ebbed and disappeared with the clouds that have also evaporated. Will the demeanour of the breakaway change? They're down to 5 minutes, and don't forget it was heading up 6.5 minutes not that long ago. So a big push by Bike Exchange has wound them in. What little climbing we do have today, and despite the fact we had a long series of downhill runs, a couple of little peaklets to deal with, just over 900 metres of altitude gained today, but over a much shorter distance of 158. And it's the last 2 Ks that really are of concern. Actually, it's more than that. It's the loop towards the end. Cherie, what do you know about this loop? And oh, hello. Feed zone incident by the looks of things. I don't know whether that was a musette that got tangled. Little bash on the bars here, just trying to get himself straight and back off and underway. Easily done, and all too common, unfortunately. It looks like it's Amos Keta who was caught out by that one. Hopefully he is okay. Cherie, what do you know about the rough roads that we're going to be dealing with on this final loop today?
Yeah, it's interesting when they do throw these gravel roads and pavés, types of roads in on the races, on the stages, and it certainly puts some more pressure and nervousness on for the riders. But the way Bike Exchange are riding here, I think that's not what they're thinking. They're looking for the final climb, the final push of that 1.9 kilometre climb up to the finish, and I think we're going to see a really great battle there. That little circuit won't bother these teams too much at the moment.
What I do love about the Vuelta, Cherie, is that they're quite happy to be experimental. Of all the Grand Tours, they were the ones that cut back the enormous stages and kind of made them more punchy, and gave us the features that we've now become familiar with. It has been a while since we've had a bit of a wall stage, however, and so today I'm grateful for that. But it's nice that the Vuelta remains flexible, and out of all the Grand Tours, it seems the one that's least inclined to stay with the old ways, as you will, and they're quite modern in that regard.
That's it, yeah. And the Vuelta always, I think one of the riders commented yesterday that there is always a bump at the end of every stage in the Vuelta, or a little surprise, and it does make it, for viewing purposes, it makes it very interesting, but very, very nervous, you know, in the team cars when you just want to get your riders through, particularly for the riders that might have crashed yesterday. Going over bumpy surfaces is not quite what you want when you've got bandages and bumps all over the body. So it is nervous, and you know, we wish the riders well over those sections and a good fight.
Yeah, indeed. Adam, the road book for the Vuelta is renowned for having being late to press, let's put it that way, and it has some rather freestyle descriptions of the day's stages. We never really quite know whether to trust it or not, and that must play havoc with riders and teams. You must have experienced it yourself, where the road book doesn't quite match what the parkour offers up, and then you get those surprises, and they're a demon to deal with. I guess it's the same for everyone, except for those teams who've got good research, if you will, riders who might be in cars that preview the course.
Yeah, they definitely do. Most teams, I think Sherry will be able to probably back me up here, that a lot of teams do a recon out in front of the riders, so they can report back with maybe a certain section of wind or whatever it might be. But they also have something called Velo Viewer in the car, so they've got the thousands of iPads within the cars that give them all the information they need, a lot of which is generally quite useless most of the time. But there's the times where we get climbs and, you know, little bits of the course, and they've got GPS files, and, you know, they can see the road, they can Google map it, street view it, where they can see absolutely everything within that as well. So they don't really have much of an excuse to see what's ahead of them. Road furniture, you can't always see that, you can't always predict it. Normally that's down to race radio, and they'll feed that back, but most of the time they'll get enough information to know what's coming during the day.
I love this about Adam Blythe. He's only just out of the peloton, really. It was 2019, wasn't it, you retired?
It was 2019. Feels like a lifetime ago.
Yeah, exactly. And you're already giving it back in my day.
Exactly. It's got to be done, Carlton. Things have changed. Youngsters who are 18 are winning bike races now.
It's hell. It is. But I do love that. Yeah. All this information. It's like you're shaking your fist at the sky.
Back in my day, we didn't have any of that. No, but it is brilliant to have, and I think it is. most importantly, it is a lot of time for safety. As I said, you can't see the road surface, you can't always see road furniture because Google's Maps doesn't show that, but that's why you have the recon car and the the race radio giving you that information. So generally the riders are as safe as they can be.
Right, we're going to, I think it's Pachivila Diaz from Movistar who's going to tell us, well actually probably not much, how much of his strategy will he reveal? Let's find out now.
You've got 3 riders in top 10 now, doing really a good job. You must be happy with the start of this Vuelta.
Yeah, I mean, we are coming from 1.5 years of a lot of changes inside the team, where the team owner Eusebio wanted to just switch slightly the direction of the team. And when you have to transform a 42-year-old company, and try to bring it to another place, it's always hard. But now I'm happy. We are happy of how things are running. And yeah, for the first time in this Vuelta, we see that the team working really on the new way, I would say. Mood of the riders is good. We have shape. I think it's good. We have done, I think, a very good job between Tour and Vuelta with the Tour group. We are just excited about the future and about the 15 stages of the Vuelta left still. Yeah.
Again, that's luxury, having 3 guys in the top 10. How would you decide how it goes, or what the team will fight for?
I think still it's too early in the race. Normally a lot of times you don't have to decide, the race decides, So it's always good to have 3 riders in the top 10. And then we'll see, and we will play it day by day. What I have to say, and I can say, is that Alejandro normally he will not fight for GC because I think it's enough. So we basically have 2 leaders, as in the Tour, Enrique and Miguel Angel, and then we will see stage by stage how things develop. And I think they have completely different characteristics, so we can play both. And yeah, I think at the end, when you're a team, if you're a real team, there's never a problem.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And then Valverde wins, shall we?
Yeah, I have to agree with Adam though. I think even as little as 2 years ago, the way of racing, the new modern way, it seems, of World Tour racing is getting younger and younger. So it's more aggressive. These guys want to race. We keep seeing these young riders pulling something out their hat and pushing on for lots and lots of victories, and it's nice to see.
It's almost like it's strategy shredding, almost as a constant, isn't it? Let's have a look at how the GC is standing at the moment. Here we are. Here's your top 10. Mas, Lopez and Valverde, 4, 5 and 6. Today, of the trio, Mas would probably have a go, Miguel Angel Lopez likewise, but Valverde, it would kind of been his home. Possibly the last, it was 2 years ago, he was in Valenciana and was one of those who was striking out for victory. Didn't come his way quite, but nonetheless, he'll be in the frame today. Had it been 2 years ago, will he be in the frame now? And yet again, bouncing Amasqueta. Is this him down again? I think it is. He's already had his troubles with a Musette. I think it was him. And now, I don't know whether the bike wasn't quite fixed, but he's on the deck again, Adam.
Yeah, it's not ideal. I think in that situation he might have been trying to get back on and coming quickly through the cars maybe, but I don't know how to explain it basically, but it's just a bit of misfortune and very unlucky for him with the Musette. We didn't see what happened there, and we've seen a similar situation where we've just seen him picking himself up the floor. But for the main thing, we're going to see a little replay. I think by the looks of things, his tyres just slid out a little bit there, so he might have a little bit too much pressure in the tyres. A lot of the times these Spanish roads can get very dusty. So a lot of the times, on these dry corners, you think you can go in super hot into the corner, and then you just have a little bit of misfortune there as he did, where his tyres slid out. But yeah, just a bit unfortunate. But the main thing is, he's back up on his bike. He jumped up straight away, angry by the looks of things, but able to carry on.
Angry's good. I tell you what, that fort looks fantastic. I loved that as a kid, to be honest. It's all screens these days, as Adam's just told you, but nonetheless, my action man would have had a great time on that, Adam.
My Barbie would have too.
Good lad, very modern. 64.4 kilometres from home. You know when Adam Bly's in the house. 4 minutes and 19. Big turns, a few of them. We've seen the wind, of course, as well, at least displayed by the ducal flag of Valencia. We're going to take a big turn, and when we get to the top of it, there's actually a sequence of turns in a huge sort of looplet around the great city itself. So we're not going to be going past too many of the high-rise buildings, and that's a blessing, because they're not the prettiest, let's put it that way. But we will have our intermediate sprint. It's coming up in 4 kilometres time, so we've actually made the largest part of that turn as we come past the health park with a building that actually looks like, I must admit, a time trialling helmet, but maybe that's just my view. So they'll come around the top. We've got an intermediate sprint. It's all going to get hoovered up by the breakaway. But Adam, that gap has now lost another couple of minutes. 4 minutes and 14. It looks like your prediction that this is going to come down to a big GC punch-up is going to come true.
I think it will. I think, excuse me, I think along with it is that you've got riders in here. There's bonus seconds up for grabs. So I think Bike Exchange rider for Michael Matthews here, trying to bring it back for him. But also Ineos Grenadiers, they have a lot of riders that are capable of winning the stage, but I think the thing with it is that Tom Pidcock within this, he's a rider that is capable today. The likes of Michael Matthews, the climb is not too hard. Although it looks fast on TV, it is fast, don't get me wrong, but at the same time, the riders aren't bunching up around to the front. So a lot of the times, especially within modern day cycling, I think, when we see it all strung out, you think, blimey, that's quick. But it's more so when it doesn't look quick and you've got all the teams towards the front, when they're all fighting for position, that a lot of the time looks a lot easier. But I can assure you they are the fast parts. When everyone's fighting to be at the front, the pace starts to pick up. So even though it looks fast now, I'm sure the riders within that line towards the back a bit, mid-peloton, are not too bad at the minute. I'm sure they're quite relaxed. If they weren't, they'd try to move up and get a better position. So for me today, going into this finish, relatively easy day, but I'm going to look at the likes of Tom Pidcock, try and steal those bonus seconds off the likes of Primož Roglic, and sorry, excuse me, that's within other teams as well.
Let's see. No bonuses will be available at the intermediate sprints because all of the points, no scraps of points I should say, for Matthews, at least to this intermediate, because only the top 5 score here at the Giro. Here at the Vuelta, beg your pardon. At both the Giro and the Tour de France, you have points extending for an awful long way down. I think at the intermediate it goes down to about 20th, possibly 15th. Here it's only 5. So the 5 riders in the break will snaffle all of the points for the green jersey competition. But of course there's a rack of them available at the end today. It looks rather spectacular, I must admit. Looks like tomato cloches, but there's more important things under those little rooflets than just tomatoes, I can tell you. 62 kilometres from home then, 4 minutes and 2 is the gap. It is coming down, and it looks like a catch may well be made, and we're going to be on the coast after our sprint, and how nice will that be? It would also be much nicer if you let these poor creatures back into the wild, quite frankly. That's my opinion, and I'm going to stick with it, to be honest. I don't visit these sort of things, but anyway, apparently they provide royal entertainment for the kids who just run around in circles with excitement when they see them. But dolphins in the sea, please, not for acrobatics. There you go, political statement made. 3 minutes and 58. Sometimes I feel like I'm just talking to the universe, guys, but yeah, it's not a pleasant sight for me, Adam.
No, it's not for me either. Yeah, it's just
enough said. Yeah, exactly. Back to this, a wavering flag at the moment, but that's because we're all screened by the buildings. Doesn't mean that we won't have any wind up a little bit later. About an hour, apparently. The pace that we're going at the moment, that might be all but done, so we will have just about virtually finished with the flatland. It could be when we get to our final circuit. Here's the last 1,200 metres, and indeed here's the beach. That's a better view, isn't it? I've got far to take those dolphins to release them, to be honest, so I think somebody would do it. But anyway, 3 minutes and 57, and here we are, the old port city. It's pleasure yachts these days, and some rather spectacular hotels, which of course Adam knows all about. He's always in the Penzhouse. Malva Rosa is where we are. It's a playground, Cherie, but today it's the serious business of dealing with the rest of the stage. 60 k's to go. This is going to get lively.
Yeah, I think we're going to see Joan Boa taking this sprint. I believe he's from Valencia. So it'd be great for him and his family. You know, a young rider, 24 years old. showcasing himself. He'd be very proud out there today in his hometown.
Yeah, and why not? He's had some good runs, 24 years of age now. In fact, he had a very good run in the Torrevedras not that long ago in the approach to this, 4th overall. And he was 3rd in the youth classification in the Occitanie, so he's pretty handy. Looks like Boll's going to break his heart there. There you are. Have some of that, says the veteran. I don't know what's up for grabs, but it's probably beer money for the boys back home, and why not? That's a bit of a heartbreak for you there, Cherie.
Yeah, my predictions haven't been quite on it today. Maybe I need another coffee.
You'll be able to get one in a short while. But we're not letting you go just yet. 3 minutes and 49 is what we've got. Yetzer Boll there, Adam, just bullying Jean Bou. But mind you, I think when he saw Boll go, he just sat at the back.
Yeah, I don't think he needs to respond to it, really. I think Yetzer Boll just getting those sprint points there, and as you said, Carlton, a little bit of beer money for the end of the tour.
Well, it all adds up, doesn't it? They dish it out at the end of the year, and you can get more or less of the prize money depending on which team you ride for. I remember poor old... look at the pace picking up here as well as we just come over the crest. I remember Matt Stevens saying that at the end of one year when he raced for Boulogne-Billancourt, I think Brian Smith was there as well. Were you there too, Adam?
No, I think it was black and white tellies back then, Carlton. I wasn't there.
Not at the same time. But yes, I don't think they crossed over either. But yeah, Matt got himself... he was expecting all his prize money, and he got a bill for all the tyres he'd used.
Did he really?
He did, and it knocked his prize money right back. He got tuppence halfpenny. He was very disappointed. He said though that when the old preems, you used to get cash for the old preems, so you win those, you were all right, and it was up to you how you spread it out. But so he was the king of the preems for a while. Bless him. 3 minutes and 47. Not like in my day. With more of that, I can assure you. So we're coming out from behind this screen. It's not as nervous as it was yesterday, but don't let that fool you. As you can see, it's a bit of a headwind at the moment because they've made the turn, and however slack that wind appears to be at the moment, that looks like a Picasso sculpture. I'm putting it out there. Yes, it could be Wyndham Lewis, the old vorticism. I'm not sure. Anyway. Back to this. We're coming down the coast road, so it's basically a headwind that we're dealing with. You can see by the frequency of the waves here just about how it's blowing in. In fact, that looks more of a southeasterly rather than a southerly for the time being. Don't want those cameras to get too close down there to save everybody's blushes. 3 minutes and 41. Beach is relatively empty. The world is, of course, a much quieter place in terms of tourism. But thank heaven, Cherie, we've got fans, and cycling, I think, has fared better as the open road is our stadium than most other sports, and for that it's been a blessing over these difficult years.
Yeah, sometimes we forget how privileged we've been in the cycling world, and the way the teams protect the bubbles and the COVID bubble. You know, everybody is PCR tested, and -6 day, -3 day test. So it's very secure, very safe, and it's allowed us to continue the sport we love and share on the on the big TV.
Exactly, we love it.
Sherry, with that as well within cycling, so I think it's interesting to know, do you know how much it all costs to send a team anywhere? Because I think that's another thing with COVID that we don't really understand. Like, to send a team anywhere, it must cost absolute fortunes.
But I think, you know, I'd hate to even put a number on that, Adam. You know, the additional cost for teams now to protect the bubble, when you think that on a Grand Tour you're upwards of probably 30 people, that's including the riders, and just to make those people enter the bubble, you have a -6 and a -3 day, as I've mentioned, but you'd also have to have PCR tests within that, and usually the race organisation covers that. But yeah, it does add a huge cost, you know, to the team's budgets. It doesn't matter how big or how small your budget is. It's been pretty scary to think about those numbers.
And the added cost, of course, of just dealing with COVID and all the testing therein, and bubbles and the like. We are very lucky. Boll took the sprint ahead of Nielsen and Gibbons. There was 13 and 10 points available as well. Boo got the 10. Philipsen stays on top on 131 in green, one clear of Jakobsen. Guys, the wind's picked up. It's from the way that the waves were just being picked up by the wind. And right now that has added really to a little bit of urgency, Adam, back in the pack here. And still, suckers for punishment, you might say. But Bike Exchange prepared to take on the chasing duty at the moment.
I'd say so, yeah. I think as well, when you look at the other riders coming up, you've got Salvatore Puccio there from Ineos Grenadiers in the navy kit, just on the right-hand side of the picture. He's moving up with a team on the wheel now. So you've got all the teams. You've got Movistar just behind, UAE just on the right, Trentin just tucked in second wheel there as well, Trek Segafredo on the left-hand side. So I think the wind is picking up. They're trying to get in position to get ready for wind, but ultimately at the minute when it's like this across the road, excuse me again, I've got a terrible frog in my throat today. When they're across the road like this and all bunched up, generally it's not that windy yet. It's when you see the bubble at the front and then going down the back of the peloton, it sort of slowly lines itself out, and that's when we know there's wind coming. We know there's wind coming because we can see that obviously, but at the minute I don't think it's affecting the riders too much with this lovely bit of shelter they're getting from the trees.
Thank heaven. We're going to be hearing from Jackie Durand. You know what I was saying, Adam, about it's not as easy. It's far easier these days than it was in my day. We've got plenty of those coming up. Jackie Durand's going to be giving out in a short while about how tough it used to be.
Brilliant.
You get a lot of that, don't you?
Brilliant.
55.7 kilometres of the day, just passing the verdant fields here that grace this part of the world. Courtesy of those old Roman aquifers that were built, thousands of years ago, quite frankly. There's the wind displayed for us. It's shredding the flags, Cherie.
Yes, I don't think we've got to worry too much. I think it's a 20k an hour winds. The control of the front Bike Exchange, I think it's just a process that they're going through. I think that the back end of the field looks pretty relaxed at the minute. We will see when they get closer to the circuit. I think it gets a little bit more windier.
Let's see. Adam, it's a headwind at the moment. It's been a tough race so far, and bizarrely so, really, because when you looked at the parcours, you'd think it's a relatively gentle introduction, but every day has been battled for. And there will be a few that are starting to feel it and trying to reach out mentally, at least to the rest day, I'm certain of it. And with a headwind to finish off today, it's going to be another factor, I think.
I think it will be. I think ultimately as well today is, they've got big days coming up. Tomorrow especially is a huge day for everyone, not just the GC riders there. So it is a big day coming up, and today I think with a headwind, if you've got the team in front of you, you can really keep riders fresher than if you're almost on your
and our criteria for approval may be considered mysterious. You're the only ones capable of seeing the truth, then together you are immensely powerful.
So, you need a bunch of smart orphans to do a deadly mission. I get it.
Ideally not deadly.
The Mysterious Benedict Society, now streaming on Disney Plus Hotstar. For only $7.50, upgrade now at Channel 200 and enjoy Disney Plus Hotstar.
The road to greatness
What a field this is. It really is star-studded.
is filled with obstacles. All of them make victory that much sweeter.
He's in superb form. That was a beautiful jump.
of the shade.
Watch the pinnacle of athletics at the Diamond League, live on Astro Supersport and the Astro Go app.
We have so much to look forward to. Relive 25 years of great entertainment with shows that touch our hearts.
All together!
Tempt our taste buds.
Kau tak tengok berapa minit masak?
Deepen our understanding.
Sort of take you back in time.
Widen our horizons.
How cool is that?
It's a continent here.
Excite the kids. Warm our souls.
You'll always be my heart.
And bring us closer.
Who are you? No.
Stream them anytime on demand. All this.
Apa nak? Confirm malu tak? Ya juga nak jadi.
Yang senang dia.
And much more to come. Astro 25, specially for you on Channel 100 and Astro Go.
To be a legend, you have to be a legend.
World Welterweight Championship, Pacquiao versus Ugas. Subscribe via Channel 200. Warriors come in all shapes and sizes.
What a difficult delivery!
Counted WNBA on Astro Supersport 4 and the Astro Go app. An exciting new season is on the rise.
The anxiety is building. You can really feel it. Great goal! There he is! Alto and precise.
All the excitement when the Italian Giants fight their way to glory.
Irrepressible, irresistible, incredible scene.
The Serie A, live on beIN Sports and the Astro Go app.
Along the stage, and I got caught 10 kilometres from the finish line. But thanks to the time bonuses, I got the leader's jersey, but still being one of the 10 worst riders of that 1999 Vuelta. I was the golden jersey wearer at the time, but I was so bad. The next day, the stage went to Albacete, and that famous stage with echelons. And I thought I won't be able to keep the jersey, but unfortunately I was appreciated in the peloton, and almost 3 teams decided to protect me in the final. Cofidis, Festina, for example, the riders like Pascal Hervé, they protected me to Albacete, so I didn't get dropped. And other riders didn't take time bonuses, and I was still the leader at the end of the day. Well, after that we arrived in Madrid and the suburbs, and the next day with a little climb and before the finish, so I surrendered. I got dropped, lost the jersey, and I went to see the manager and tell him, okay, I'm tired, I can't do anything, please let me go home. But no, I was still a professional rider, with a boss, of course, and he told me, you're going to continue, you've got the condition. Oh, we got another tumble here as well. He told me, you're going to go on here, and he was right. It was a hard few days, but after that I got some good feelings back in my legs, and things got better and better, and I finished 3rd after the stage. But yes, in bike racing, sometimes you just have to keep going, and you can end up with some nice memories. Thank you, Jackie. Not nice memories for these guys. It doesn't matter how well you're running, and even if you're running up front, check this out, and it looks like, whoa, I don't know how that happened.
I do. The Alpecin rider just hit him.
I don't think he did. I think he hit the Alpecin rider. I'd love to see it again, to be honest. Gosh, well, I'll go with you, Adam. Far more experienced than me in situations like that. But they were trying to loop around the crowd by the looks of things, and that started the wobble. Not nice, Adam.
Yeah, I mean, I think he was obviously trying to move to the front there, but just moved in at the right time. There wasn't enough room, and just moved in on the bike exchange rider and just, clipped him, and then they both ended up going down, and by the looks of it, another rider as well. But yeah, it's not, this far to go, and I mean, it is stressful. It's obviously getting stressful. The riders are obviously moving up, but it's just, a bit uncalled for, I think.
Often, Cherie, ambition outstrips your talent, I think, sometimes.
Well, yeah, I mean, that just shows how when you put a plan together, it can soon go wrong. And I think 1 or 2 bike exchange riders came down there, not quite sure what happened there. But they'll have to regroup really quickly. That gap is still coming down. There's a lot of road furniture as well, and you know, at this point now, you'll be getting a lot of information. The sports directors will be getting information from that front car, so they'll be aware of the traffic islands and the road furniture up ahead, and that also puts a huge amount of pressure on the riders, because the sports directors will be giving that information, and it's getting down to the pointy end of the day, so there's a lot of pressure on there and a lot of nervousness now creeping in.
Here's the Albufeira Lagoon. Don't confuse it with Albufeira, that lovely holiday spot in Portugal, one of my favourites of old. Looks like there's been a bit of a knockback here in terms of the pace. It's holding at 3 minutes, but as you said, Adam, that can disguise a real pacey approach on a good road, a wide road, and thankfully now with a little bit less furniture to trouble us, and even the crowds as well seem to have abated. Can we settle down? I hardly think so at a moment like this.
Yeah, I think teams are just getting worried now about the wind and starting to move up. If you look at, who's at the front now, there's the teams all coming up together, all fighting to be at the front. You just look at the body language and they're all sort of tucked in, trying to get as aero as they can. So it's definitely getting harder and getting faster. And as I spoke about before, that when you generally see all the riders towards the front there in a big bunch, it sort of looks a little bit easier from the front, but that's the times when it starts to get faster. And just these little simple roundabouts, just see at the bottom of the picture, you go into the roundabout and it is strung out massively, and if you're one of these riders towards the back that has to sprint out the roundabout more than the others, that is just a simple reason, an example of how important it is to be at the front to save energy.
Well, it looks like some of the building plots here have been raised. I don't know what they contravened, but anyway, right now, safest place to be is out front, and we kind of expect this of Ineos Grenadiers. They seem to suffer less than most, although Adam Yates got caught out at the beginning of this race on stage 2. He made sure he was clear of the incidents yesterday, Cherie, and they're getting up for their feed relatively late here, possibly well timed as well. It looks like they're the only ones taking on sustenance at the moment. Clever management, I think. Yeah,
the Swanniers will be pinpointed exactly, so the riders will know exactly where the feed zones are. So one of the last feeds of the day, before the pressure goes on, and it looks like lunchtime there for some of the riders.
Good for them. Oh look, it's the African Queen. We will be bidding a fond farewell to Cherie for some of you. After we come back from the break, we should have a vacant seat there, which Sean Kelly will fill later. Cherie, thanks very much for sharing your thoughts today. It's a delight to have you on board. You're on the sofa, I understand, today.
Yes, I am. No, I've really enjoyed it, especially the highlight is sitting on the sofa with Adam Blythe. It's been entertaining.
He's quite a view, isn't
Nonetheless, yes.
With me, you'd need a wide-angle lens. But anyway, do enjoy. We'll enjoy your company again tomorrow, I hope.
Yes, thank you.
Brilliant. 46.8 kilometres from home, and how do you just reboot your mind, Adam, after an incident like that? Did you? I know it depends on your personality. Did you, whenever you had your own moments, did you find yourself dwelling on it too much, or did you just get on with it? And do you use adrenaline to your advantage?
You just gotta get on with it. I think you can't really dwell on anything for too long. That's anything in life, I think. But yeah, you just gotta get back on your bike, get on with it, and just focus on what's in front of you and concentrate, I guess. But you can just see now how tight it's getting towards the front. A lot of the riders towards the front, and interestingly, one of the Ineos Grenadiers ran, I think it was Tom Pidcock, who went through that feed, and it was a very quick feed. And a musette bag is typically just a little bit like a handbag. You have one strap that connects on one side of the bag to the other. And he went through it quickly, and he ripped one of the stitchings out of the bag. They're just made by cotton, and normally when the riders put it around their neck, they can hang it from the neck so they can go in the feed bag. And with one of the straps not connected obviously makes it very difficult and it can be a bit of a pain to get your food out, so not the nicest of lunches for Tom Pincock today.
Not the best take. Well spotted. And it's funny, isn't it? Well, it's not funny, it's brilliant, I think, that Ineos have gone for these tangerine bags. No reference at all to their team kit, but very easy to spot. And I guess any advantage, we talk about marginal gains, even a visual one as well is worth having.
It definitely is, yeah. I think, a lot of the riders in the feed zones now, and a lot of the Soigneurs especially change the colour of the jersey so they can spot them. And a lot of teams, I think now as well, have different colour training kits so they stand out in the road a little bit more when they're training on home, and that's typically the colour of jersey they'll use within the team. But ultimately it can get quite confusing as well when you've got someone in front of you being looking for their team jersey, the matching rider in the feed, your soigneur, and if they don't have the same jersey on and you're not aware of it, or if you're on your knees fighting for your life trying to stay in contact with a peloton, you might get the rider and the soigneur mixed up, and that's also another point when we can see crashes happen.
Very much into colour order at the moment, which suggests that they are going to be very concerned about protecting their team principles. On the left-hand side of the road, you'll see Jumbo-Visma, and I'm still wondering about our breakaway. I still think they're very, very capable. Let's see how much power they've got left, but at the moment the gap's down. Welcome back, those of you who've been away. If you'd like to keep in touch without commercial breaks, you can go to the Eurosport player or the Eurosport app. You can also enjoy, of course, the GCN app, where Eurosport player, multi-sports platform, and so you can enjoy a whole raft of sports, including cycling, of course. But if you want even more cycling, and indeed some spectacular features as well as extra live racing, then if you go to the GCN app, have a look around. It's free to go and have a look, and then if you decide that it is your thing, and if you're a cycling fan, it most certainly should be, then possibly worth you thinking about taking out a subscription so that you have uninterrupted coverage plus a whole load of races which there is no room to show on terrestrial platforms. It's just a question of mechanics, but on GCN, of course, you'll be able to see I think more cycling than anywhere else on the planet. It's quite something, isn't it, Adam?
It definitely is indeed, yeah. I've just got Mr. Kelly in with me now. We're just going to quickly swap booths while we can, because Sean has to do the finish, so bear with us 1 second there, Colin.
Okay, you enjoy, have a swip swap. Meanwhile, let us have a look at today's predictor and see just how close it is to being successful. Cron, Matthews, Roglic and Harada, and it could well be that Sean Kelly's Harada comes true today. You just never know, quite frankly. Meanwhile, looking through the centre of proceedings, good to see UAE here, and also Matteo Trentin coming up and doing some pacing, so I'm actually wondering whether it indeed will be he today. I thought that he would be their choice, but you just never know. Possibly some changes of assumptions by the end of today. Are you joining us, Sean?
Yes, I am.
Marvellous. It's
all ready for this final, Carlton.
Oh, fantastic. Has Adam departed, or are you staying with us for a little bit, Adam?
I am here.
Good lad. Oh, look, we're rack full of talent here.
Rack full of talent in me and you, Carlton.
I was going to say you two. Not me, but anyway, 3 minutes and 7. Sean, it's been a funny one today. I really thought this breakaway was going to have its fun, but we're coming to the big loops, and indeed some of the gravel roads as well, and even the tarmac roads here look a little bit challenging, to be honest, with all that overbanding and the like. It's going to get a bit nervy because the wind's up, we've got a loop, we might even have some dust off the gravelly roads.
Yes, well, it's already nervy for quite a long time, and it's going to get more nervy as we go into the final of this one. And now we're at that 3 minutes. Unfortunately for Bike Exchange, they got knocked about there with crashes, and they were really pushing on and closing down this breakaway very, very quickly. We've seen that there's a knockback in the peloton, but I'm not sure. I don't think it's over for them yet. And it was always a question the earlier part of the day when we see the breakaway getting away. Trek like Fred were going to control and not keep the break at a minimum advantage. They were going to leave it to go with that 7 or 8 minutes and then just keep on setting a steady pace on the front of the peloton. But there's always teams with different tactics going out on the day, and today this finish for Michael Matthews, I think is a one that he can, get a stage victory. Will they be able to pull it back now after the little problems they had with the crashes? But Matthews, we've seen in the sprints he's up there, but on the flat sprints, the real speed sprints, he's not at that level at the moment. I think his outright speed has gone a bit in the last year, 2 years. So this uphill finish, they're going to give it everything and try and get him into a position. And let's not forget, in the Tour of France, Day 1, he was very much up in that sprint when Alaphilippe won the stage. So, he's able to do this sort of finish today. Will he be good enough? Will they be able to take it back? First of all, we can see really nervous here. Everybody just on the front and fighting for positions. And again, the risks like we had yesterday, the crashes here, as we've had, too many already today.
We have far too many. Everyone who's reached out for a little bit of glory has been bitten, it seems, in this race. Poor old Ryan Tara-May. Coming down twice wearing the apparently cursed red jersey, at least this year. In this stage today, we've seen Bike Exchange reach out for a bit of glory, and then all of a sudden it went awry for them. Windsurfers are having their fun. The wind most certainly is up. Just look at the wave formations at the moment. Who's going to be making waves at the end of today? Well, the out-and-out favourite, if it all comes back together, has to be Primož Roglič.
So here we are, one of the favourites, Primož Roglič. You're getting a lot of cheers here, Primož. How does that feel?
Beautiful, huh? It's just super nice to see so much people, and we are enjoying it.
You might enjoy the stage up there at the end of the stage today, because you might win it, or you might get back that red jersey.
That we'll see today at the end, but for sure. It's another, like we saw also yesterday, it's always tricky in the finals. So, we have to stay up there, have to stay safe also on that final circuit. So that's the main goal. And, at the end, if there is a fight for the win or something, definitely we'll try to do our best.
What do you know about that final climb today?
Again, not really much. I never did it before. I saw some videos of it, and it's short, it's explosive. So we'll see how it goes when we are hitting there. Shouldn't be, let's say, I shouldn't be too worried about it. But just try to be there and be safe for the final.
Do you think this is a ride for the GC riders to go for the stage victory, or would it be for the breakaway?
I think can be for the breakaway. Like, why not? We will not chase for the stage for sure. So like I said, for us, our intention is just to stay out of the troubles. And if it brings that is for the stage, of course we will also try to fight for it.
Thank you, man.
Thank you.
Well, passing by a swimming pool that looks like a bit like a bullet. Who's got one in the chamber today? I guess, Adam, you could say that other teams have done the job for Jumbo-Visma today. They would have been, they were reluctant to do the chasing. I think everyone knew that would be the case because and we were wondering if other teams would actually pick it up, and they've done it.
They have indeed. I think they've had a job done for them, but ultimately as well, they've got to sit up at the front now and do the hard part. Staying at the front in the wind is very difficult in these conditions. Quite a blustery cross headwind, ever so slightly by the looks for it, and you can see all the teams. You've got UAE there, you've got Ineos, you've got Movistar, you've got Jumbo-Visma. So although they weren't chasing the stage today, they've started to put a rider on the front just to keep them safe and out of trouble, which Primož openly said in his interview there. That is the main aim of today, is to get through safe, and if he's at the final and if he's in a good position, he'll have a little dig, which I do think he will.
So we're heading to Cullera, wild, chastised and told. And it's where we've got a looping circuit. Now we're going to head out on a causeway out towards the very edge of the water, and then we're going to have some varying terrain. We're just about to start that loop right now. It's a bit of a challenge. They love to throw something into the mix. We were speaking about this earlier on, Sean, while you were away, that the Vuelta organisers, they love to throw in something a little bit different, and of all the 3 Grand Tours, they seem to be the least fearful of experimentation, and today is one of those pesky little experiments. I wonder how it's going to go. What monster will we create?
Well, the organisers of the big 3 weekers, they're all trying to create something just to have a one up on the other organisers, and they just try and find these little things to make the race interesting at point when it can go flat. And we did see yesterday, because of the wind conditions, and the previous day we had a pretty uneventful stage really, but again today they're trying something, and that's what they're searching for. And the people in the organisation of whatever 3 weeker it is, they seem to look for these little bits extra to make it really interesting and make our viewers come and watch those stages. And of course, Carlton, you've been talking about this final a lot, so it's not surprising the riders are nervous here for listening to you. They're definitely going to be nervous via the Director of Sport East, because you've been calling this road and this final a very dangerous one, and it's normal that the riders are so nervous up front because of that.
I'm not surprised. If you're all listening in, it's great to have you on board. Please stay on board. But I think there's going to be a hell of a brutal finale today. 3 minutes and 21. That's all we've got as our gap. Adam, it was way over 6 minutes, and they've wound it in nicely. But it looks like we've got a holding pattern at the moment. Do you think they've given up the ghost and have now decided that this breakaway might have its fun? What do you think?
I'm not sure. There's a lot of strong guys in that breakaway. Magnus caught for one. We might have seen the breakaway why the gap didn't come down so much, as they weren't going too hard in that breakaway. So the riders behind the peloton here really truck along and trying to bring them back. And now they've got into the last 40k. They might have had an agreement where they've decided to ride harder than they had been and really push the tempo on the front. And interestingly, I was just about to say Adam Yates is on the front, but he wasn't. He was just getting to his team and telling them to go over to their left now. He's told Puccio, slowly making his way across to shelter from that wind. So yeah, it's a difficult one today.
Very much is. It's interesting what you say. It backs up Sean's philosophy about breakaways, that they have to play it clever, Sean, occasionally, and hold something back. Now, with the gap having come down by 3 minutes, it suggests that not only is the push from behind, but maybe just an easing as well from the breakaway. Do you think they've got anything left today to suddenly impose and then go for it when we get to our final circuit?
Well, I think it's a good point by Adam there that, the breakaway, if you have a riders or a number of riders in the breakaway, that they can ride at that 85-90% and keep something back for the final 35-40 kilometres and then really push it on. That is the way to do it. But the way it's looking at the moment, 36 kilometres, I'm afraid, for the breakaway, even though there are some very strong men here. It's so nervous here, and it's going to continue like this. And I think Bike Exchange, they might not be finished yet. They probably have said, now we have it at a gap where we can just relax a bit, wait for the final, and then ride in the final and get the man Matthews that they need in the front onto the climb in a good position.
Well, we're heading out towards the polytunnels. Then we make a cut to the headland and a causeway. Then we head back kind of a northerly direction, so we'll have a tailwind for a short while. And then we will re-engage with the loops. So if you like the look of these polytunnels, don't quite fill your boots, because you'll be seeing them again in a short while. 3 minutes, still holding. It's on as even at the moment, Adam. When's this going to either stretch or indeed snap? What do you think?
I can't really see it snapping at the minute. You can see the face for Gesink there in the Jumbo Visma colours really struggling, and Jan Tratnik here just doing an absolute steaming job on the front, and he's wanting to move. There you go, there's your answer to that. But Jan Tratnik there, I think the reason he was going so hard so he could move to the right hand side of the road, stay on the left, get your leaders up with you, and then move to the right hand side of the road, which is the more sheltered side of the road. So if we're on that side, the wind is coming from the left till the right. If they can get on the right side of the road and move out slightly, that will protect their leaders more rather than fighting on the left side in the wind.
Once you're off the back here, Adam, nose in the wind, you suddenly realise how much protection the peloton has offered you, I guess. Wow, look at the wind now.
I won't want to be on that, crikey. It's not my cup of tea.
Well,
but yeah, you definitely
Sheffield,
can.
It's only reservoirs for us and dinghies, isn't it?
It is indeed. But no, it's so important to have your teams around you on these kind of days. And I think what is the main key point here, we've seen Tom Pidcock on the left-hand side now taking over on the front, which is not good for my estimation, I've got to be honest. But yeah, it's almost very vital to have a rider that you can keep in front of you and have one rider. We've seen in the past the likes of Luke Rowe. Remember in Paris-Nice when he just stayed with Egan Bernal the whole time. They didn't put the whole team in front of him. They didn't put too many riders. They just kept one rider in front of Egan the whole time, so he didn't have to manoeuvre too much around the peloton and have that difficulty of trying to follow 4 riders. It was just one, so it is very important to have at least one rider you can trust and stay with for as long as you can to shelter you from the wind.
Fabio Jakobsen taking it easy at the back today, not his kind of day. And Mikkel Nieve looks like he's been in a rock tumbler, Sean. He was carrying so many cuts and bruises from yesterday. I feel sorry for him. He's really churning it here. Look, it's not nice to dwell on it, really.
No, we can see he has a lot of bandages, and we see him yesterday. He was the one who was sitting on the road for quite a long time. We can see his teammate as well, Andre Zeitz. He was also down today in that feed zone. So you can see the damage it's doing here. Like there's riders, coming up from behind this group, and still it goes on the front here. And this is real nervous times. And we see the way they're changing on the front. Riders calling their men, their strong men. Move over to the right, move over to the left, just chopping and changing all the time. This is a very dangerous section we're on at the moment, and we could see some more spills before we get to the finish.
All hell has broken loose while some of you have been away. We've seen riders trimmed off the back that are looking very second-hand. There are splits out there. The wind is blowing an absolute hoolie. We're on a circuit at the moment. Now they are racing south, and they're about to take a cut onto the causeway. And the clever riders, those teams that have done their research, know that some nastiness coming up. It's going to get gnarly, and then all of a sudden they're going to have a tailwind. Already there are riders out there that have been caught out by the pace of proceedings. The gap to the breakaway has just tumbled to just over 2.5 minutes, and we've got a group of about 40 riders here that have managed just to extricate themselves. I can't quite see who that is for Ineos Grenadiers that's just been tagged off, but Tom Pidcock's done an awful lot of work. Adam Yates, just about mid. Do you think it was Adam Yates off the back?
It was, yeah. Adam Yates. I was just about to question why he's riding, but that'll be why, to try and stay in contention for that group. It's disappointing that he wasn't just involved in that, and you can see each rider, and that's why we saw this stress that we saw, that riders trying to get to the front, teams trying to get to the front. Alpecin-Fenix, they had Jasper Philipsen up there right towards the front, and by the looks of things, Enrique Mas has made it in there, Roglic has made it in there, Bernal's made it in there. So just Adam Yates, unless he makes it back, he's going to lose a bit of time, which is not good for that team with 2 GC guys. I'd say that Carapaz is a little bit out of it at the minute, but Lopez on the front as well, so he's made it. Movistar doing better than we've seen them.
Oh, amazing. Well, they come into this with their gander up, Adam. I guess 3 in the top 10, and they're riding like that today, and they may make a steal.
They might make a steal indeed. They just got to keep this pace going now, and if they turn a little bit into a tailwind at the top of here, that is really going to be difficult for the riders behind. But it's just who is going to ride in this front group. You've got Ineos Grenadiers, a couple of Alpecin guys who set that up, Movistar rotating, but it needs cooperation by the whole group to be able to do that. So left turn back into headwind now, so that's going to slow things down a bit and give the riders behind the opportunity to get back into that group. And when they do, boy oh boy, it's going to be stressful. You're going to have the directors screaming in your ear, get back to the front, you need to stay in position.
Yeah, well, if they have the ocean upon their right hand shoulder, they're going to have a tailwind here. Let's have a look how it's described by the flags when we get there, but there's plenty of gaps at the moment. Ideal time for them to open those up. Still waiting for this causeway. At the moment it looks like a reasonable road, so I was expecting more gravel and sand, to be honest. You talk about dust, Adam, but it may well be a factor today. Let's wait and see. At the moment, Sean, it's all about the wind and the strength, and these gaps are getting bigger.
Yes, well, it's all about the strength and numbers as well. If you have numbers of riders that can stay together, they can get out of a situation that they need to make a move up. But we could see Yates there. He was in no man's land trying to close on his own. But the good thing is we have Pidcock is up there, Bernal is up there, Carapaz is up there. They will not ride through now for the moment. I think they will get the call. Just stay in the front group, stay to the front, but not push it on. So he might be able to get back in, and we can see there's quite a big chasing group there, so we could see it come back together. But look at the roads we're at the moment, getting narrower all the time, and this is going to make it very difficult for the peloton. And when you get back up, to move up is going to be a difficult run. But we can see here the pace is definitely off a bit. Movistar continuing on, but they're not driving it on as they were, a kilometre, 2 or 3 back the road.
UAE just trying to put a fire out at the moment. They've got a couple of riders up here, but from being in such a dominant position, they're the ones that are being lent on by everybody else. We've got a regrouping of the chase, essentially, but there's a high-quality group in front of what's on your screen at the moment. This is the red jersey group for the time being, and it looks like UAE, I'm afraid, have found themselves a little bit out of sorts by the gaps that opened up in the wind.
Looks to be Vlasov there as well, Carlton. Vlasov, sorry to intrude you.
No, go.
But yeah, Vlasov missing that as well, and Astana, and seemingly just sitting on the wheel there, just not pulling through at the minute, where in this situation now you want to bridge across to it as quick as possible just to make sure it doesn't grow, but happy to sit on the wheels. You can see not that big a gap, but with Movistar on the front really still trying to push on still. It's not going to be an easy one just to bridge across to.
No, it's not. You're absolutely right. And just checking it out, it's a lot of Sadal also want to be part of the game at the moment. That's a strong old drive. Can't quite see who that is. Do you know who that is, Adam?
I'm not too sure who it is at the minute, but I think that just shows there from Trek Segafredo. They've been obviously riding towards the front, doing a bit of work beforehand, so you can see the difference in the conditions between that Lotto Soudal rider that's trying to bridge across and the Trek riders who are trying to do it slowly and together rather than just in one big hit.
Someone like Harmberg Hoke I'd have guessed if with that sort of power, but we'll see. 30 kilometres then from home, and we've seen some brutality. Now, even if, Sean, that was described to the riders and they've got experience of it, next time by on this same part of the course, just because you've got an idea about it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be able to guard against it.
No, same menu once again.
Exactly. Same again, please. With Movistar in charge at the moment, Sean. That shows a great deal of confidence.
Yes, well, we can see they're in numbers on the front, but they are not really driving it on at the moment, so the conditions are not right. The wind conditions, if we were getting a real strong side wind here, they would be pushing on a bit more, and a lot of riders will want to come through. As we can see, riders coming across here, another 4 riders or 5 riders making it across, and you can see there the effort that they have made here. A lot of riders are suffering, and just splits in that chasing group and making it across in. But the longer they continue at this pace, I think we should see them coming back. As we can see, Kenny making the effort here. He's also in no man's land here, and it's a real difficult stage for those guys, because as you said, 50, little more than 50 kg in those conditions, those guys suffer majorly, and it's only the real talented riders like a Bernal, who's a lightweight rider, but he can ride up in the front of the echelons with such ease.
Adam, you're with us for your final thoughts today before you head off to the sofa.
Poor Kenny Ellis on there. He went from group and another rider passed him and they went back. So yeah, as Sean said, very, very difficult there. But I'm going to go for Ciccone. I went for Pidcock, but by the looks of things in those crosswinds there, I think he was just suffering a little bit, and I don't think he's quite at the level he needs to be yet to win. I don't think he'll be far off. He'll have a go, but maybe we'll see someone like Ciccone, who is very, very capable on these short, steep climbs.
Wash, you can't change.
All right, Sean, I'm not going to argue with you, because you are the king. So yeah, all right, Pidcock it is.
It's good to have your thoughts, Adam. Thanks ever so much. How many days are you going to be with us?
I'll be with you till Saturday.
Fantastic.
So I'll see you then.
Great to have you on board, mate. Go and enjoy yourself a coffee. Kick back and enjoy the hell that we have got here. Sean, they're going to make a turn to the ocean side here, and this will ultimately give them a little bit of tailwind. It looks like it's a headwind that they're dealing with at the moment. Wind from all sides, of course, when you're on a loop doesn't make it easy to marshal at all.
Oh, it's a difficult one, and it's more difficult than they were, I think, hoping and expecting, because when this breakaway went away, we see the way it was growing out, 5 minutes plus very, very quickly, and I think the riders here in the breakaway were saying, oh, this is the breakaway, we're going to have a big advantage going on to the final climb, going into the final 30 kilometres, but unfortunately other teams had other tactics to play, and it's caused a problem now where they're just at 2 minutes with still 27 plus kilometres to go, and the race very nervous behind. This is going to be a real challenge for the breakaway to hold on, and to hold on to the bottom of the climb. If you ride from the bottom of the climb with 30-40 seconds, the effort the 5 have to make, it's going to be difficult to hold out there as well. So when you make that calculation, 2 minutes and 10, it's looking like it's going to be a difficult one for the breakaway to make it again today.
I think so. Again, another cut, some very high paving here as well. Dangers just about everywhere. It seems to me, Sean, that modern road furniture is an absolute blight.
Well, I think the engineers that design the roads, they're certainly not thinking of bike racing. But yeah, that is everywhere. I think all over Europe especially, it seems to be that there's more road furniture. So for bike racing, it's becoming a problem. And you see going through those towns, the amount of islands in the middle of the road, traffic calming, speed ramps, all of that. It's just so dangerous, and for the organisers it's impossible to man every section where it becomes dangerous. And we see many times in all big races where there's places where it looks hyper dangerous and nobody there to give the signal to the riders as they approach. And yeah, that is that's the reason we see a lot more crashes. And let's not forget the Tour of France this year, the first days we talked about how dangerous the roads were, and the riders did have a small strike because of the finishing kilometres, 30-40 kilometres were so dangerous in the end, so many crashes, and that is more and more in those races.
Absolutely. It was very dramatic for us as viewers, but I think it was a bit unkind on the riders. Thank heaven, of course, that Brittany stepped up to the mark in the absence of Denmark due to COVID changes. It was great that we had any racing at all, and as we were saying earlier on, Sean, I think we have been blessed. Our sport has been affected, of course, but far less than other sports. Thank heaven for us to be able to keep on racing. Well, just because you've seen it before doesn't make that the roads are any easier to read. It's going to get brutal. An old traction engine there. I've been described variously. 2 minutes and 8 is the gap, and now it's Movistar, Sean, that really want to impose themselves. I know they've been there or thereabouts, but we had Team Bike Exchange that decided to pick up the cudgel and start issuing that. They got bitten, a couple of their number hitting the deck. Your fortunes can change very, very quickly here, as it did for that camera bike.
Yes, well, it's a difficult one when you put a team on the front to ride and close down a gap of 5 or 6 minutes. But Bike Exchange were doing a really good job. Unfortunately, they had some of their problems there with crashes. But now we can see Movistar. They have been on the front for quite a while. They were bossing it there earlier on, 3-4 kilometres back, and now they're pushing on a bit more. And that is the way to do it. You have to try and keep all your men together and use the riders that you have, worked out who's going to ride when you're 30 kilometres, 25 kilometres to finish, because there is riders who will do that to a certain point and then drop off, and they're really doing a good job keeping all their forces to the front and keeping in block.
Here we go, great vantage point, as you can see from up on high. The wind, Sean, it can show its hand at any time, and today it's blown up very, very quickly, almost an hour before the organisers thought it would really have a major impact. It's already changed the complexion of this day almost entirely.
Yes, well, it's caused a lot of problems, and it's really broken up the race there, and it's an interesting one now to see who is getting back in here, as we see more riders coming back to the front, and that tells there is a lot of riders that are getting back in. That tells the pace was knocked off, but it's the It's the route decide really. There was a section there where it was very windy, and that's where it blew apart. And of course, yeah, with laps, you're changing that direction all the time. And again, we're going to be going back to those sections later on, and that is going to be hyper nervous, and everybody will know what's coming up. So it's going to be a battle again to keep their forces and keep the numbers of a team in front, as you can see Ineos as well. Just keep them to the fore, and that's what you've got to do now in this final 23.8.
Just looking at the vegetation billowing away here, as you say, Sean, you're going to have winds from all directions, and it's hard to kind of govern against, and just keep in your mind as to when the twists and turns are coming. I know that we've had a preview of the lap, but it's a big one, and so we'll be taking it on yet again before we take that pesky cut. It'll be a left-hander with only 1.9 kilometres to go, so we're busy looping. Loopy it is. Welcome back, everybody. It's a gap of 2 minutes that we are dealing with for the time being. If you look at the old ducal standard upon the top of this castle here in Cullera, beautiful indeed. It's a fortified chapel. There you are. Well worth protecting by the looks of things. I'm sure they do a nice sky. 23 kilometres of the day remaining. The wind has blown up, and it's blown the breakaway apart, essentially. They still hold together as a fighting force of 5, but it's the gap that's been destroyed, and it was hovering around 6 minutes. It's down to 2. I guess there's still a little bit of belief here. It depends on how much strength they've got left. It looks like Boo is starting to struggle at the back. Flicking the arm out here is Magnus Kortz, who just asks Lindemann to come through, who takes on that duty. Yetzabol, who took the intermediate sprint, he follows suit. Ryan Gibbons also involved here. He's on the nose right now for UAE, but they've got other options if Gibbons can't make it. They're making sure that they can stay in touch. The likes of Trentin will have a dig today. I'm just wondering whether who else might feel that they've got a right to have a go. Even someone bizarrely like Raf Maika, I don't know. It's a strange one to call today, quite frankly, because not least that the climb itself has a tailwind. Of course, in a loop, you've got the wind coming from all directions at various parts of a loop, and indeed that wind has played havoc with the peloton so far. They have come back together, Sean, which suggests they all believe that there's something to be had out of this day.
Well, there's probably some riders, in that second group chasing that needed to make it back, and we could see in the earlier part, there was a lot of panic riders trying to get across to the little gap between the Group 1 of Primož Roglic and the rest of the favourites to that second group, and slowly there's more riders joining. We can see that, and now it's just a little bit of downtime here. Movistar still continuing to keep the pace pretty high, and a lot of riders just waiting there in the front, and they're thinking of what's coming up on this final 21.6 kilometres. So they're waiting until we get to the real difficult part where it's going to be open, the windy conditions. Spare your energy, stay with your rider that you need to stay with, and wait until you come to that section and the more technical parts, and then make sure that you're in that top 10-15 riders. Be in the first echelon, that's what it's all about. If you can make the first echelon, well then you're safe.
Yeah, well, wise words, Sean, but I think difficult to follow as well.
If you can.
Yeah, exactly. You've got to be absolutely on your mettle, haven't you? Fantastic. Let's wait and see. I noticed that Omar Freire is just making a use of himself and getting up and into place.
7 metres from the ground. Basically quite nervous. Mind over matter.
The rules were simple. Cycle as far as you can in 60 minutes.
I got you.
I don't think many bike riders of our experience would ever go into an event wondering whether you can actually complete.
I am numb in places you should not be numb.
Once you get to the 40-minute mark, that's when it really starts to bite.
That hurts. He's in a ton of pain. There's something wrong.
Just one of the spectacular features you can see on GCN. Go and fill your boots. Yeah, fantastic. I presume those penny farthings were made of carbon, Sean, but they didn't look any less uncomfortable.
Well, I'm not sure comfortable-wise what they'd be like way before my time, Carlton.
Yeah, I remember getting my first penny farthing. Oh dear. 20 kilometres to go. Yes, the GCN app, go and have a look. There's some spectacular things there for you. Here are the causeways that we've been playing with, our spectacular coast here. The Playa Sant Antonio. It's St Antonio's beach. I didn't know that Saints spent much time on beaches, but clearly Sant Antonio filled his boots, and indeed his bucket. 20 kilometres from home, 2 minutes and 1. And that looks like the mount we're going to be playing with, Sean, on our top right of our screen.
Not sure, Carlton.
One of them anyway. That's the only one I can see. And we have to go uphill. I'm Bagsying that one.
Yes, yeah, I think you are pushing it a bit there. 20 kilometres to go, of course. I know we're doing a lap here, but still we can be 8 or 10 kilometres away from this final climb. But yeah, it's going to be a real fight now for the breakaway. But they are walking real well. We can see here, they're holding on this 2-minute advantage. It's coming down slowly, second by second. But it's nothing like it was earlier when Bike Exchange started to ride, and they were losing a minute in a number of kilometres. But again, back in the main peloton, they're just waiting. All just nervous here and thinking of what's to come, and when we get into the section where it opens up again, well, then it will just be full-on racing, and this just under 2 minutes will come down very quickly. And as I said a bit earlier, if you get to the final climb with 30 or 40 seconds, having to make a huge effort with the 5 men, which they have been doing for a long time in this stage, that is really difficult to keep it going on this very difficult 1900 metres of a hill, of a climb at the end of the day.
Well, 19 kilometres to go, so we're not that far away. This would be kind of approach pace, really, if it was a sprinter's day. They're kind of treating it a bit like a sprint. Our breakaway, however, Sean, is making a good fist of this. The last couple of kilometres, they've only ceded a handful of seconds. Less than one handful by the looks of things. This is going to be a real battle between the break and the pack.
Yes, well, it's going to come down to a very interesting final here, and we can see the breakaway are working real well together. Back in the pack, their teams on the front, notably Movistar, the ones who are on the front for quite a long time now, but they're not giving it full on 100%. They're waiting, and we're coming to this section now where it opens up again, and that's where the peloton will really start going fast racing, because they all want to be in that front echelon, and that's where the pace will go up much faster than the breakaway. But will they be able to go fast enough that they can pull it back and get it back to a position where it will be the peloton the winner will be fighting out of?
I am just wondering who's got the strength from this breakaway to hold off the likes of Roglic, and when his team get involved. They haven't had to do too much chasing today, and in that regard, Sean, Jumbo-Visma have been offered up something of a gift. Can they unwrap it and give it to themselves? That's the point.
Well, I don't think Jumbo-Visma were the ones who were really pushing on today. We did see it was Bike Exchange who really took it up when the break was getting out to a point where it looked like it was going to be the breakaway all the way for the stage win here today. But they changed that in that section of 30, 40 kilometres. They pulled it back a lot, and I reckon Matt White was saying, okay, to set a gap now where if we get so nervous in the end, other teams will start riding, spare the men that we have left here, and try and get Matthews into a position where he can go for the stage honours. And that means have 2 or 3 riders that can take him into the final climb and then just drop him off on the wheels of the like of Roglic and the big favourites who are capable of winning this stage here today. So yeah, it's going to be a very interesting final here, and this gap 148 at the moment, still coming down slowly. I'm afraid for the 5 that is going to be just a little bit too much for them to hold out.
Just tightening of the boots here for Magnus Cort. I'm actually just wondering whether he's going to stick the boot in. Let us wait and see. Jetzer Bol, who took the intermediate sprint. All of these guys have still got to believe, that's the point. 16.5 kilometres to go. Minute 46, and it's Movistar still doing a job potentially on behalf of Primož Roglic and Jumbo-Visma here. I think they've had a bit of a magic carpet ride, Jumbo-Visma. I know it's been tough for everybody, but hey, let's have a look at Tadej Pogačar. 2020 when we came here, slightly different entree it was that we came here, but Tadej Pogačar it was that took that Valenciana. Great day, and indeed a terrific performance it was by him. And here it is, so it will give you an idea of the climb that we are dealing with. Nasty gradients. It's quite an even climb, I have to say, but there are as well some little punchy sections that can issue something of a knockout blow if you're not careful. On some of the twists and turns here, it does get up to 12%, averaging around about 10, but it's a proper drag race to the line. Pogačar, who's absent, Sean, had his fun back then. And you can see a tight little finale at the very last. I think they've moved the finish, by the way, away from that rather cruel turn. Valverde went well, but that was a couple of years ago, and that clock can't keep ticking, surely, for him. I'm just wondering whether Valverde believes today or whether it's going to be a supporting role for his teammates.
Well, I think Valverde is capable of doing this, but the opposition he's up against, that is going to be a difficult one for him, the way he's performing in the last 12 months. But interesting here, we can see Hugh Carty very much at the rear of the peloton. Looks like the gap opening up here. Just before we went to that clip, you could see he was hanging on the very end of the peloton, and the way it's going now, there's going to be more splits here. It's not the place to be. It doesn't look good for him where he's hanging at the very end of the peloton.
Egan Bernal is in a very good position at the moment, just tucked in for the time being. This could go any way. Primož Roglic still amongst the favourites on the vote which is going on the GCN app. And there, as you say it, Sean, Hugh Carthy's out of position, a few others as well. Rob Hessig has done his job on behalf of his team principals, but it's Movistar that are still bossing things for the time being. Don't discount AG2R Citroën either, and they've got some options for today. Venturini, I think, took a big tumble yesterday, but they've got some great riders who can impose themselves late on at moments such as this. Bouchard, Calmejean. Let us wait and see. There are too many options really to ponder almost, but the gap's holding, 1:33, so a breakaway. It means that they are working incredibly hard together. Nice as well, tongue out here for Sepp van Mark, just driving into this for Israel Startup Nation. Always good to see the big man up towards the 4. It's a bagatelle of brutality at the moment, Sean, and Adam Yates, luckily for him, has managed to get himself back in after being tagged off in the headwinds as they were facing earlier on today.
Yes, well, I think he had a little bit of a scare, that 25 kilometres ago where he was caught out and not in the front group, but he's made it back and very much at the front here. We could see him trying to move up a couple of places there, and that's where he have to be in that top 15-20 riders for the moment. And you can see the damage it's doing. This group is going at a huge fast rate at the moment, and 1:23 is coming down all the time, and 13 kilometres still to go. So it's in the balance for the moment. We can see Hugh Carty here, just teammates around him here, trying to keep him in contact. And when you're in this position, at the very end of the peloton, if you go on to the final climb, there's going to be so many riders dropping off, leaving gaps open. You can find yourself losing 40, 50 seconds, a minute very quickly if you start to the back of the peloton. Even if you start to the front of the peloton and you're not good, you could lose, that 10 or 15 seconds so quickly.
He's struggling to keep the will of his own teammates here, Sean, as they constantly reform, just easing off. I guess this is the gift, to be honest, of having a TV camera in the team car. Tom Scully just told to ease off, and it's a tough old task. And any energy burnt here, Sean, is going to be missing by the time we get to the final peak.
Well, as I said, that is the problem with the uphill finish of the 1900 metres. Position is always important with a short climb like this, and if you start on the rear of the peloton, you're already 30-40 seconds down from the guys here on the front of the peloton. So you can imagine to move up, it's so difficult with all the riders in front. If it's a small group of 10-15 riders, it's not so crowded on the final climb, but here you can see they have 80 riders certainly up in front here, but they're hanging in there. But this is going to be a difficult one to recover. And up front we can see now that the pace is on, and a lot of teams getting involved here.
Very much so. Bernal is wearing the Young Riders jersey, looking very, very good, and Carthy just can't make the junction at the moment. What a nightmare scenario for him. That Sabarastori is just hanging on the coattails. Not sure what the conversation is that's going on. Carthebo just pointing something out on Carthy's bike. but he just cannot get in, and they're not hanging around, and they can't, because there's 11.9 kilometres to go, 1:08 to the breakaway, don't forget, and I'm just beginning to wonder whether that's bridgeable. The breakaway still seems to have the legs and the belief, Sean.
Yes, well, you have to believe, and we've seen that anytime we just go back to the breakaway, they're giving their all now. Everybody is contributing, and they have to stay together. If they can keep the 5 riders together and work as they have been, but the problem is to keep it going as they have been doing, because it's going to hit them. They've been out here riding hard for kilometre after kilometre, and we can see on the front of the peloton the Koenig, Quickstep putting new men up there, and you have fresher guys coming to the front, and that's where it caused the problem for the front breakaway, but also for Hugh Carty here with his 3 teammates.
Yep, he just cannot get back in at the moment. In fact, he's sharing the duties, or at least trying to. They're exchanging as a trio of helpers for Hugh Carthy, 4 there from EF Education Nippo, and he's finding it difficult. Another big turn, another big transition. I guess the slowing down here will allow them to peg back on, but it's how you get through the corner as well. And indeed make your break for the seaside, which we head back to. 11.1 kilometres to go. Not that far at all to the climb. 1:23 is 59 seconds is the advantage of the breakaway. And here is that Paraski. Oh, down he goes, and it was not looking good. I must admit, for the Groupama rider who was finding himself having done his job today, and then suddenly gets himself into a ditch. It is gnarly, gravelly and sandy at the side of the road here. You can see the cars kicking it up, and that's an unkind thing to get in your face at a moment such as this, but they're calling cars out of the gap almost erroneously. Let's have a look. Oh, not nice at all. Never nice to see, but thankfully he'll be back up on his bike. Was it Ludvigsson that hit the deck there, Sean?
Yes, Ludvigsson, sorry.
Yeah, nasty. It's and dust as well, Sean. We mentioned it earlier. It can be the same as ice for an unstable surface, can't it?
Yes, well, maybe not the same as ice, but it's definitely when you're taking corners at the speed those guys are going, 50 plus kilometres per hour. The dust is a one where we see, in a lot of races you can slide out so quickly, and that's what happened to Ludvigsson.
There we go. Movistar resettling themselves, still with some belief. Euskadi have got a man up the road in John Bull, and that gap has gone back out, Sean, to 1:05 with 10 to go. When do we believe in the break? And it looks like there's been a knockback here.
Yes, well, we're into the section again where we see the previous time we were on this road, there was a fight into that left-hand corner where we see the crash, and then it slows down, and that's what's happening again this time round, because the wind condition, it's not blowing in the direction where you're going to put riders in difficulty if you ride. So it looks like it's a headwind here, and all grouping together up front, and we can see Hugh Carty is just starting to come back in here. Not many cars behind the main peloton, of course. The Commissars have pulled all the team cars, and that makes it more difficult as well, because you haven't that advantage of drafting behind the cars as you come up. But he is slowly making it in, and will he be able to move up in the peloton before we get to this final climb, because 9.5 to go, not a lot of time left.
Not a lot of time at all. Now we'll call the corners in for you as we get them, as we head back towards the St. Anthony's Beach. We'll wait and see. You can see the flag giving a kind of an approximation of what the wind's doing at the moment. It looks like it's just billowing all over the place just for the time being, and all over the place is the peloton at the moment, and the chase, I'm starting to believe ever more solidly in the breakaway, at least for the moment now. 1:05, and they look to have made a perfect fist of this, to be honest, and it may well be a blow that's been issued to the peloton. They're just eased up in the headwind that they're having to cope with right now, and still Carthy can't get on and make the bridge. And when we make the turn, this will be in about in a few kilometres time. We've got a couple of turns to deal with, but at 3.5 k's, if they're not back in, then it's all over, because there'll be a tailwind to take everybody to the climb, and that will be a real rush away. We shall wait and see. At the moment they're dealing with a headwind, and here's your 9 kilometres to go banner, and another turn or a few twists, and a little bit of the hoarding there just blowing off. That shows you what the wind is up to. Looked like it was a cardboard advertising panel that has just been dispatched. Sailing by the soft fruit here, but you've got to be a hard man if you're going to make it today. Let's wait and see. 8.5 kilometres. They've still got a minute. Movistar, is it worth the candle? Them absolutely turning themselves inside out. There is Valverde, dead centre of that group. But don't forget, they've also got to look after Mas and Lopez. 3 in the top 10, we remind you. If there's a combativity award here today, I'm certain it's going to go for somebody from the break. But Hugh Carthy and his boys deserve something out of the day. What a big turn that was by Tom Scully, who just stretches his hams after doing much of the work of going back for Hugh Carthy. It's a thankless task sometimes. Still a minute they've got, Sean, with 8.1 to go, and it looks like they're going to hit the bottom of the climb, but will, I don't know, let's say 40 seconds to a minute be enough?
Well, we can see there, the speed, the breakaway going 45 kilometres per hour for the main part of the peloton. 42 kilometres per hour, so that tells the pace was knocked back. But we can see Movistar are back into action again now, and this is going to stretch out the peloton and test the breakaway. 1 minute on advantage. Yeah, it's looking a bit better than it was 5-10 kilometres further down the road. So it's possible, but it's still no guarantee they can hold out there. They're going to have to fight, ride hard all the way to the line, the breakaway, and now it depends on the peloton, the teams, what they're going to do, because if they really race in the next number of kilometres, well, then this advantage of 58 seconds could come down by 20-30 seconds so quickly.
Magnus Kort's already had himself a podium as part of this race. He finds himself in a very elevated position right now. He finished third in the run to Molina. This is a different kettle of fish, but right now he is the man with the rod. What about those around him? Jetzebol here, great deep experience for him as well. Bert-Jan Lindemann, the fellow Dutchman, countryman of Jetzebol. And Ryan Gibbons, let's not forget, the South African as well, more than capable too. And you never know how much effort riders have put in throughout the full reach of the race, even to get to this point. I know it's early days, but fatigue can show itself at any moment. 52 seconds is the gap, and they've started keeping something back for the climb now. Well, there is our mount that we're going to be dealing with, the Playa del Dosel. It's beautiful round here. How they got planning permission to put those on the plummetry, I do not know, but anyway, we'll be looking forward to playing with this route up to the top. 6.6 kilometres to go, 53 seconds. It's coming down slowly but surely, but I think that's because they've knocked it back a bit, the break, Sean, to preserve their own energies for the climb.
Yes, well, there's always riders in the breakaway thinking,